And welcome back, Pokemon UNITE trainers. I thought you might miss me a little bit. I brought some new friends and a little bit of technical hiccups on the Battle Hub GG page, but we are back. Oceania Final Stretch Finals, and we have the top 4 coming up, and we're going to jump right into it. But we have Mifu, we have Lobo, and Zero, and Alex, along with myself, but we have a fantastic matchup that's already underway, so we're going to not save any time here. We are going to go right into the action, and Lobo and Fu, they're going to take you here for this winner's final set of the final stretch.
All right, Lobo,
Yes.
I mean, we've got an incredible set to start off today's broadcast. It's going to be AXO against Natsu's Revenge. So these two teams have clashed quite often, I think, in the season so far. I mean, AXO has a record against them, but obviously coming in, trying to make a difference in these play-ins, because I mean, what do you get if you win today's tournament, Lobo?
Oh, mate, if you get the dub in today's tournament, you get an invitation to head on over to New Orleans and compete at NAIC. It's a prize that I think both of these teams really, really want. And like you said, these two teams have history. Let's see if Natsu's Revenge can bring it out for their side this time around.
Yeah, very interesting here. We do have a bot path Mimikyu going up against double speedsters that Natsu's Revenge has brought out. They've also brought out a Pokemon that we never really see in that bot path. That's going to be the little Goomy, isn't it?
Yeah, we talked about this and we speculated about it before, especially in the speedster meta. Pokemon that are able to take hits and take KOs, just like that one. Really tough taking a secure on that Mimikyu in the bot path.
They definitely are able to pick that up, but we do have Absol ready in the bush, lurking with Tom1 as well. This is an interesting, I think, setup they've got. The fact that speedsters have been buffed recently means that they're actually quite viable in these paths, and as long as they can get their level 5s quite early on, they're going to be able to dish out some incredible burst damage.
I agree with you 100%, but now we've got it. Both central laners have gone to 2 different lanes. We've got Joe on the scissor, a little bit more bulky, trying to keep that sustain, but Hooper's going to stop that stack from going in. 2v3 inside this top path before this Altaria spawn, dude.
Oh, we have the Sizzle coming out from the side of Joe, and they're going to be able to soak up some of these birds as we have a numbers advantage for AXO in the top path, but regardless, they're now going to look to push the pad, maybe still thinking about how to come together, maybe help the Slowpoke evolve, and then get a nice little siege on the top pad. But as I say this, we do have Anon quite low, chunked out by the Hooper, but no KO so far from them.
No, absolutely. Wigglytuff is here to help assist. We got 24 seconds. Absol's just soaking up as much farm. Wigglytuff going to try and catch out Meowscarada if they can, because Absol's going to go in and try and catch out a knob. But Liz is going to kill them up. Slick goes down, no stun, and gets away scot-free.
They do. So we do have now a Wigglytuffly Fledge from Ratus Redenti, and they're going to be able to initiate the fight for this Absol to go through. Now, Absol, Meowscarada, Talent, and Gengar are the speedsters to watch, right? And we got 2 of them in this match. 3 of them, in fact, from both these teams. So as these teams have finished the birds, we have a KO on Liz, as we do have the Absol now. Joker, seeing whether they have another in to try to get some scores through.
Soaks up all those middle Altarias just for themselves. The assist with Wigglytuff, but also got to point out, it is Trick Cooper coming out. Joe went in, gets slapped, quick gets put down, and sent back to the Pokemon Center by Hooper. Nice advantage here for Natsu's Revenge. They're going to push onto this pad food.
Yeah, I love the fact that they're playing Trick Hooper here. Once they have their Phantom Force, they're going to be able to allow the Absol to jump in and out of the fight without much trouble. And with that, AXO is now pushed onto the back foot in that top path, and they have to back away and think about whether they can get their levels in the other side of the map. But as I say this, NG Hacks also able to get a nice little KO. And they have the Flame Sweep as well, but Joe's going to stand up on top and get the response. But Ziguri now with a fully fledged Gudra as well. I mean, this is one hell of a Pokemon to take down.
I agree with you. You've got Gudra, so tanky, so helpful, but Slowbro just got its evolution inside that central area, taking one of those the little farms, not the buffs there, but now I think Natsu's Revenge is going to take this Regirock off the map and then head on up top side because Joe, Liz, and Slowbro are making their way up. This Regieleki is up for grabs.
And on court between three members of Natsu's Revenge will get sent back to the Pokemon Center as we do have Natsu's Revenge in a huge score lead. They're going for more. Ziguri down in the basement. And, I mean, still the donut shop for AXO, isn't it? So they're definitely looking for a good fight here. Not all of them have their Unite moves. We have a Telekinesis onto the Absol to bait out the Midnight Slash, and Joe goes down to NG Hacks. And there's another one. Liz also doing the same. And I think the snowball effect has started for Natsu's Revenge. They see the amount of burst damage they can enact. As long as they don't get some silly KOs down, you know, especially on the side of Joker here, no XP will be afforded on AXO side. But as I say this, Anon gets a crucial KO onto Joker.
Red Illusion Dive coming on out, but all in that time, whilst they were fighting, Joker creating a distraction, Regieleki was taken. Look at this score difference for 242 to Donuts for the side of AXO. Natsu's Revenge playing with some gumption, some motivation, not gut check time straight away, but AXO have to find something here to really come back into this because Natsu's Revenge, they're playing cleanly today.
They definitely have come out swinging, and they've broken both the tier 1 pads on the top and bottom here. So, I mean, I do anticipate something like a 5-man push coming out from AXO soon onto one of these pads. It seems like it's going to be upstairs in that tier 1, and we have an early engage there with the Midnight Slash yet again, doing so much damage, and Joe getting slept by Wigglytuff means that Joker gets to really run through them. 4 members down, and without even missing a beat, we have a huge Unite from Hooper, going unbound, roll call time, and everyone outside of Natsu's Revenge is going to be able to break that bottom pad and get a massive overdunk as well.
When Hooper roll calls, you make it through. Andy Hacks going for the Flame Sweep, picking up a KO. Absol picking up a KO streak of 2. KO streak of 3, mind you. That bottom pad is gone. And now those score numbers are just increasing for the side of Natsu's Revenge. But that is exactly what they wanted to see. Luck is favoring the board in Natsu's Revenge with Reggie Steele down the bottom side.
Oh, it's definitely a series of fortunate events, I think, for Natsu's Revenge. They've got the vengeance in their eyes today. I mean, this is a team that we talked about so much, about their consistency in coming in that top 2 positions, but they haven't had the taste of victory so far, and I'm very curious to see whether today is their day where they can make a difference. With such high stakes in today's tournament, I mean, what a better way to come out. You know, really flaming, right? With your talent flame, getting so many KOs, and so is Joker as well.
Oh, and that's a quick KO on the Meowscarada as well. We noticed that Gudra was playing that Acid Spray, which really doesn't allow Meowscarada to really zip around as much as they want, giving that slow. But as they take this Regieleki in the top half, we have a level 14 Talent Flame and 2 level 13s, including a Gudra, as we head on into the 3-minute 30 mark.
Still 0 on the board for EXO. We have the Starlight Recital come through to help out the cleanse for the team. And all while this is happening, we have NGX getting a 50 into the home pad and seeing the score close to that 400 mark. This is getting to the situation where Rick Barton may not even be a win con, right, for their team. Another KO now down. But 2 members down for Natsu's Revenge will mean we have double level 12s for AXO, so at least there's some relief in terms of the comeback experience. They do have to deal with that Regieleki first, though.
Nah, they do. There's something that's great about Pokemon Unite, whether you like it or you're not. The comeback experience is so good. Just want to point out, Ziguri was surrounded by 3 members of AXO. The tankiness of this Gudra that I believe we mentioned yesterday is just coming into great effect, especially considering it's now one of the highest level members of Natu's Revenge's team with a level 15 Talonflame. That Brave Bird that NG Hacks is playing is going to do a considerable amount of damage. But as we say, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to go. Final basement Reggie is going to spawn. What's it going to be? It's a Reggie Rock.
It's a Reggie Rock, and it does look like AXO have the numbers advantage here for this, so I'm gonna anticipate Natu's Revenge actually gonna be giving this up. Meanwhile, they're gonna go through, and doesn't matter. Rattus Redenti stealing the Rayquaza yesterday, taking down the Reggie Rock for their team now, and what an advantage going into this Rayquaza fight. They need to be able to stall this out, or just go score. I mean, their score lead is so high right now, isn't it? I mean, the disparity is just so crazy.
376 to Donuts. Now it is all on AXO to really go for the flip of this Rayquaza with 1 minute 50 seconds on the clock. Joe is just hitting this. The Shadow Sneak goes on to Ziggery, but I don't think that's where Mimikyu really wants to jump right now. Still seizing each other out, seizing it out, but I think AXO making their move. Wiggly goes in. We've got the engage coming up.
Oh, and it goes into the clone of Anon there as we have teams backing away. Ziggery pushing in and have another Sing onto the Red Illusion dive from Joe. And there goes the Right as Rain coming out from Ziggery. And we have an instant Mimikyu Unite. But it's going to be AXO losing the members first. 3 members down. It's up to Joe and Fenord to take out and sort out this fight. Joe going up against 4 members. And that's going to be a team wipe. AKA streak of 4. For your Joker XD, and it ain't no joke, ladies and gentlemen. Natu's Revenge have taken the Rayquaza in our first set, and our first game, rather.
Oh my days, a 4KO streak. Hooper just stopping Absol from getting that 5KO streak, but Fu, game number 1 of our winners final, and our Golden Boys AXO held to donuts in this one.
Yeah, it is quite a crazy performance. I mean, big credit to Natu's Revenge. They have been waiting all day today to play in the winners finals, and I mean, what a showing that they've just come out. The draft, if we can quickly talk about from the band's perspective as well. Gengar is the only speedsters banned out. I mean, I'm not surprised that Snorlax is banned out from the side of AXO, especially if, you know, they don't want to play into it, if they can't get it. But Blissey, Umbreon, very popular from this team. They love to ban it, and I guess the fact that they were able to get a double speedster comp, as well as kind of anti-speedster teammates such as your Goodra, such as your Wigglytuff, just meant it was very hard, I think, for Anon and also the DC on the Mimikyu to actually get in and deal damage without getting knocked out.
We saw DC play Gengar very effectively day 1. We saw the mean look Umbreons coming out. You're right, these drafts seem to be quite standard across the board, but Tomlon pulling out the Trick Hooper. I want to say probably the surprise of the game. I was expecting Hyperspace Hole, but when you've got a Trick, onto either NG Hacks or Joker, who both managed to hit level 13 at around that 4 minute mark, it's kind of crazy the amount of burst damage that both of those Pokemon are just being able to do. And of course, Ziggery pulling out Goodra, it was the pick that we picked last as a surprise. With you, myself, and Bemco, we talked about it, just the slow and the ability to be tanky, not only with its Unite move, but heading on into those bushes to get some regen back. So I think a nice surprise coming out from Natu's Revenge. They've really thought about their speedster meta, even though it's so very fresh in our minds.
Yeah, I think Natu's Revenge is a team in OC that has a certain style of gameplay that's quite different to the other teams we get to watch. It really kind of like, they look to kind of break the mold of what the OC competitive scene is, and instead of, you know, going in and always playing the same type of bonds, they like to experiment, and I think definitely in this game it paid off, right? I mean, having the fact that from the get-go, Joker and NG Hacks were able to enact so much damage, getting some crucial KOs that both the path was, it seemed like it was just their game to dominate. And I mean, you have to feel for Anon as well, being the central area. They went to the top path to see whether they can get an advantage for the team. Was not successful. They come down to the bot path for those 7 minutes. And guess what? The pad's nearly about to break. So, I mean, it's a tough task there, isn't it?
I agree with you, and just again, a note on Natu's Revenge's play. Again, giving up a Reggie still inside that top path, but then having NG Hacks also score 50 inside your home pad so early has got to be on the minds. And I think we've seen this in other regions as well, that players are now getting so confident with either 2v3, being outnumbered by 1 or 2 players, but then having control in another section of the pad. It makes you wonder, you know, you can't you can't look left and right at the same time, right, Fu? So you need to have your head on a swivel, and I think Nauti's Revenge in that game really had to ensure, AXO had to ensure that their head was on a swivel that entire game. Nauti's Revenge did a great job of confusing them, making them go to exactly where they wanted. So I think game plan planned, game plan tested, game plan executed.
Yeah, I think knowing that Nauti's Revenge, they don't ban any speedsters or from the last few games we watched from yesterday as well. Perhaps the technique for, or the strategy for AXO is to actually leave all the speedsters up. Especially when they get to choose the side now, right? And I think, right, in my opinion, the current meta for OC, having the option to pick second is going to be more advantageous because you're allowed to get the 2 spots instead of the 1 priority. So perhaps if they ban out, let's say, Wigglytuff and a Snorlax, and then, I guess, give one of the speedsters and then choose the 2 speedsters they want, at least it is more even if they are looking to play speedsters. You know, or you can just play full anti-speedster comp. But from what we've seen yesterday, it seems like you do need to pick up at least one of the 4 incredible Pokemon that have been buffed in the recent patch in order to actually be on par, right? Because, I mean, if you don't pick it up, I can guarantee you the other team is going to be looking for it.
I agree. Whatever you leave on the table is up there to pick up. And again, giving people an option to pick up 2 speeds, dare I say, even giving someone the option to pick up 3 speeds is kind of outside of, I don't even want to imagine. But what I do like, again, is the experimentation with these anti-speedster comps, where you've got your Wigglytuffs, you've got your possible Umbreons with Mean Look, you've got your Goodras, your Slowbros, and your Snorlaxes now, all fitting into these anti kind of speedster comps. And I think the more this patch kind of goes through, we're going to start seeing that people are going to start experimenting with Pokemon that come out. Like, I think I wanted to mention it, like Clefable with Gravity could be an option here. Whether that isn't as effective as the other Pokemon that we mentioned is going to be, it's going to come up to whether we can actually see it, whether we have time for people to just experiment. But I think in this kind of situation right now, with everything on the line right now, Fu, does experimentation come into it, or do you just have to go with what you know works?
Yeah, I mean, the good news for both these teams are, regardless of the result in the winners bracket, is they have a safety net, right, in the form of the losers. And that is the advantage that you get from coming through the winners bracket from day 1. We're going to head straight into game number 2, all our manifestations or our strategies that we put for them. Let's see whether they are using, right? We do have Joe now repping the Goodra instead, but yet again, double speedsters, the same ones coming out from NG Hacks and Joker XD.
We know Invader is so comfortable on that Snorlax as well. Liz picking up that Blissey, which means I think maybe we're getting Healing or Safeguard coming out through here. But Goodra is interesting because I wonder if Joe is going to take that into Central Lane. No, I think it's going to be... no, it's going to be DC that's heading on into that Central Lane for the side of AXO. I think just want to get that Mimikyu online as quickly as possible. But Talonflame going to the lanes for Nauti's Revenge.
Yeah, very, I guess, similar draft that NR has brought out in this game number 2. Ziggurat, obviously, with Goodra being taken, they're going to be playing the carry Trevenant, as Rastus Rodenti will be rocking the XP share Pikachu down in that bot path. And I think having the Fletchling in the central area is great because when you have your level 5, whether you use your Area Ace or your Flame Charge, at least it can provide that help out burst damage for this Absol in this top path as well. So we'll see which path they ambush. They are looking to go to the bottom path though, so perhaps a different strategy here, but we do have a nice little 12 dunk in for Invade.
And not had to pop that eject button just so quick because it got caught by the Electroweb, and we saw NG Hex was going in for the acrobatics. But now Mimikyu DC has done a 180, heading on into this basement path. 3v3 inside here as these Altarias spawn.
They will be spawning right now and do have a huge acrobatics to go through, and a nice little Electro Web from Rasodenti will be able to catch out both Invader and DC as well. We have an evolution now from Ziggurat, but we do have Anon taking down the enemy center area, so Pokemon, I mean, so the Fletchling will go down as well. I mean, kind of a trainer experience so far, and I think to the relief of AXO, they have some points on the board in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Getting those donuts in the previous game, they want to make sure that they get points here. Interesting enough, I want to point out, as we head into the top path, Absol goes in. Blissey is on dangerously low health. The trick is going to be used to get Absol right out of there. As I was mentioning, we are seeing a Thunder Pikachu coming down from the bot side, heading on into these Militaris. I think that's a smart move, especially if they've got the anti-sustain, the anti-heal coming out from that. It's just going to be able to shred down those defenders, Fu.
It definitely is going to be able to do that. And, with the DC now soaking up some of the middle Altaros and Swablues, they're going to be just shy of that 7. And as I say this, they will unlock their Trick Room or Shadow Sneak, depending on which one they want. Speaking of 7s, though, some couple of 7s across the board as well, with Anon hitting their second move, as well as NG Hacks unlocking their second move with level 8, with the Brave Bird now taking down DC immediately. I mean, how dangerous is that move now? Especially when you get the upgraded Brave Bird, you have that damage reduction that we talked about yesterday.
100%. It's crazy. I think going Shadow Sneaking onto, especially Ziggurat on that Trevenant, playing that Curve moveset, plus the Thunder, plus the Brave Bird, you gotta be very careful no matter how tanky you are. These new Altari is gonna come as quickly as they arrive. I think that was going to go mostly to Nazi's Revenge. Shadow Sneak is on Ziggurat once again. But again, I think DC learned his lesson. Don't Shadow Sneak the Trevenant. 6 seconds until the objectives start to spawn. AXO in the lead, but Nazi's Revenge not looking too shabby either.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tight game here. We do have a couple 6s for AXO, so they're probably just going to capture some of these wild Pokemon. However, a Registeel for our first basement Reggie of this game means that perhaps they still want to contest for it. Nice little Brave Bird from NG Hacks to secure it for their team, and DC also goes down. We do have now a Talent Flame with their Unite move, so if they are going to be able to lock onto someone, they can push it off the pad as well, and that's exactly what they did here with a Flame Sweep to come through. But a Flower Trick into the Flower Flourish, unfortunately, does not connect onto NG Hack, so they will be able to get away scot-free. Raptors Redenti, maybe not so lucky. No, they still get away with it. So, I mean, having a bottom pad and the healing here, Lobo, it provides so much sustain for Team Natsu's Revenge.
And there goes NG Hacks in onto the Blissey, targeted out, but I think that was going to be a mistake on that part. Ziggurat tried to get NG Hacks out on the Talon Flame. Trevenant is just absorbing crazy amounts of damage. The Thunder's going to warn them off, and Invader has to pop the block to just make sure that they don't go down to those Thunder Strikes.
Yeah, these teams love fighting, but with all of these tier 1 pads up, they need to be careful and kind of go through all the neutrals, right? And I guess keep any sort of lead they have and not really give away XP shares on a golden platter. Do have a Regieleki upstairs just waiting for these teams to show some love to it, but seems like from both these teams, they're still going to delay a little bit of their fight. But as I say this, Anon going down to Ziggurat there will be able to afford this Trevenant their Unite move. And I do still feel like Natsu's Revenge has been so aggressive. The Bliss Assistance going on to Joe, trying to keep this Goodra in the fight, and so will their Unite moves be popped off. But yet again, NG Hacks relentless with the Brave Bird, and so is Raptors Redenti able to be able to knock out both these defenders up in the top half.
No, they were trying to decide the math there for that they didn't get to score, but Anon pulled out the Floral Forest, getting a 2 KO streak just like that. The tides turn with a KO streak of 3 for Anon. Maybe trying to figure out that math wasn't the best idea because that turned around badly for them.
Yeah, stay in school, kids. We do need some quick mental maths, clearly. However, I guess, in terms of this game, it's all about any opportunities you can get, right? And Anon was in the right place at the right time. And speaking of the right place, this might be another opportunity for Natsu's Revenge to get some sort of score, but we do have the Cavalry coming in the form of Joe as they compete for this Regirock, the block coming out from Invader to kind of stall out this fight, at least until the rest of their team can come in. DC is on their way as we have a Brave Bird. Does not connect to Invader so far, and Joe now able to have the safeguard to run at both teammates, dragging them in with Power Whip. They are going to be able to knock out NG Hacks, and Joe also trying to help out Anon with that score, but they're going to be so lucky there as the Midnight Slash will also come through. It's going to be AXO picking up that Regirock.
It is, but Tomwon calls the roll. Everyone has to arrive, defend the pad, and they've done a great job. If AXO can push onto this, the scores are pretty even. Pikachu in the top lane defending. There is a chance that AXO could go in. Player off on to the Absol, but it moves. Bravebird goes in, trying to stop DC. Goes for the Shadow Stick into the Flame Sweep. NG Hacks trying to pick up a KO, but Player off hits it. NG Hacks gets out on an HP in a dream. AXO pushing hard on it to this tier 1. Heavy Slam goes down into the block, but Ziggurat is behind, trying to defend. I think AXO have used enough resources to try and take down this pad, but just to no avail. They're going to back it on up and make sure that there's a lot of yellow dots on this map. They're going to start trying to level up, but we've got level 13 Absol to worry about.
Yeah, level 13's for Anon as well. We have Invader now caught between 3 members once again. They'll probably go down to Joker. Yes, they do. But I do agree, especially on the side of Nazi's Revenge, with a pad broken up top, this is a perfect time to kind of play Pac-Man, right? And capture some of these wild Pokemons up in that top path and maintain at least your level 13s and 12s away from Antic Exodium. So the scores are in the favor of them, but Ziggury's trying to make a difference up top, trying to keep them in par with them, but not going to be too lucky as we do have a curse applied now onto Anon, putting them on half HP. Not enough to knock them out though.
No, not yet, but there is NG Hacks there as well with Ziggury. Anon's going to try and back it up here, but there's going to be a 50 dunk going in, and that is going to put Nazi's Revenge into the lead, and they're going to start this Regieleki. 22 seconds left on the clock. Let's get a quick look at these levels. Level 14 Meowscarada, non-playing farming simulator up in that top path. Level 14 Absol, level 13 NG Hacks on that Brave Bird, level 12 Ziggury, and now level 13 Joe. This Rayquaza fight is going to be interesting. Game 1 went to Nazi's Revenge. Let's see if Nazi's Revenge could get the one up on AXO in this one. For Green Dragon is here. Shadow Sneak not finding anything. Is this going to be another instance of just seizing it out because that Regieleki has walked in? But the calmness that Nazi's Revenge is going, NG Hacks could be going in onto Joe to cause the distraction. But I don't know if that was the best ploy because now they're trapped.
Yeah, the NG Hacks will be able to get some vision for themselves top side, but able to get out is crucial for their team. I mean, the fact that Anon is just sending their double team clones is a great way to kind of bait out some moves as well. And you never really know, right, when he's going to pop in, get a Flower Trick boosted, and then get out of there. So, I mean, both these teams still have the Unite moves. No proper engage so far. Goodra not on 11 HP. Will be able to run out with their Focus Man proc as well. So, no fighting so far with Ziggury running in. Maybe gets an isolation on one of them. We do have Anon able to just get out with the double team as well. The play with me landing on to Joker, and Joker will be the first to go down. No, the Midnight Slash comes through to keep themselves sustained. What a way to stay in the fight. And as I say this, they finally get knocked out by Joe, and 2 members of Nazi's Revenge traded for 2 members on AXO. Folks, this is a tug of war right here as we have a potential refight here. Tomwon, we're using the Rings Unbound. No more Unite move for them. And yet again, having the lead from Nazi's Revenge, they know they just need to slow out this fight.
30 seconds to go. The 2 defenders were brawling it out inside that central area. Liz is back up here now. All attention is on this Rayquaza. Can they stall it out for 20 seconds? Because then they have to go and score. There's 40 points in this. Less than 40 points. Here we go. It is Anon with the secure, but now they've got to go and score through. The Hunderburgers have to jump in. Pikachu's gone back to defend. Let's see where these come from, but I think that's not going to be an issue. Not going to be enough to stop. 10 seconds to go. That's a Hunderburger from Liz, but Anon's going to stop that from NG Hacks.
And I think that's going to be enough. AXO, with moments to spare, have taken the lead back, and we're going to be going the distance, ladies and gentlemen. 1 apiece for our winners finals today.
It's crazy scenes. What a crazy scene that was. Again, the refight is always something that we enjoy seeing. The defenders, Ziggury and Joe, just duking it out in the middle whilst NG Hacks and Tomwon tried to back off Anon, and I believe it was Invader inside that bottom path. Just fights going on everywhere. But I think such a great tug-of-war game from these 2 teams. And we have a look at this map. It shows AXO in the lead, Nazi's Revenge in the lead, AXO in the lead, Nazi's Revenge in the lead, and then it all came down to a 30-second array fight at the very end, and it was the Hunderburger that went in from Liz, I think, and I think another person scored as well. I didn't quite catch that. I caught the Liz Hunderburger going in. That sealed it. Game number 2 to Antic. We're going to game 3, buddy.
I think something really different here that AXO has now brought up and maybe causing a little bit of trouble to Nazi's Revenge is taking both the Snorlax and the Goodra here. I think having that prioritization allows them to have a little bit more sustain, and we have 2 members that, you know, doesn't get one shot by any of the speedsters, allows you to really take a deep breath, right, in some of these fights and help out Anon with allowing him to, you know, do his thing and get some of those crucial KOs as well. So, I mean, this is the adaptation that we talked about before. We've got a replay coming out. Thank you so much, Shiv, for this. As we see from the get-go, yet again, I think Natsu's Revenge played very well in terms of being aggressive. But as you build on to the later game, on paper, it does seem like Antic Odium has a more of a sustain, right? And if they can kind of like take in all the Unite moves that Natsu's Revenge is throwing at them, for the refight, they look much better.
I just want to point out the Pikachu choice here, I think, was an interesting one, especially trying to back off the two defenders like Invader, like Joe. Thunder coming down, doing some damage, and then allowing Absol and NGHax on that Talonflame Joker and NGHax to really go in and do some damage when Goodra is low, because I think getting Goodra low to a point was one of the key factors in that. As we have a look here, it was Liz and Joe defending this top pad, but the combination play from Absol, then into the Thunder, then into the Brave Bird right here. Liz goes down first, and then Joe, even with the Bliss assistance, that damage is just incredible.
I think, speaking of the Pikachu, I think Rattata Dente's job there was just to apply the Cursed Incense, right? Because we have Blissey, we have Snorlax, and we also have Goodra, which we really need something, a Pokemon at least that can provide that AoE in order to help out the team, kind of shred these tanky Pokemons down. I think Espeon is another great option with the Psybeam, able to do the same thing. And I think the benefits of Espeon against Pikachu is that the Unite move is a great way to kind of isolate Mimikyus and potentially Meowscaradas from coming in. And it provides a focal point, right, for your team to kind of collapse onto. Regardless, I think they played fantastically either way. And I'm so glad it goes to the distance, because now we get the full span of what these teams will do in order to make it to the grand finals to the winners.
Yeah, 100%. I like the correlation there between the Psychic Solar and the Thunderstorm. You know, isolation, hold people up, as well as just put beer damage. But here we go, looking for the secure. NGHax, I thought, had this with the Brave Bird, seemed perfectly timed, but it was Anon that managed to get the secure there. Very, very nicely done, especially in all of that chaos. Shout outs to Shivam again, slowing this down, getting us these replays. Fantastic work. But for something we haven't talked about yet is the bans that went through. Gengar, Slowbro, Wigglytuff, and Umbreon were banned up again. But a completely new look as we're getting Miraidon and Serena coming out for both teams.
Oh, we have now the Death War comp coming out from really both of these teams, if you look at it. Goodra, Serena, Snorlax, and Blissey from Natsu's Revenge, and we have a Petal Dance Venu, a Crustle, and also your Eldegoss with the Kotakao Crash to kind of keep everyone sustained. This is a fight for the finish, ladies and gentlemen, and with only, one Speedster in this game, I mean, you have to be convinced that the other was banned out.
No, I like this as well, because you've got Goodra, if they decide to go Dragon Pulse, able to sustain it. You've got the Petal Dance Venusaur with the Giga Drain, able to sustain it. So you're right, it is going to be a complete fight as we see Razor Leaf coming out. Serena has to pop up real quickly, but Tomwan is in a little bit of danger. Nice pressure from AXO in the early stages of this game.
Yeah, we have Rattata Rodenti now repping the other XP Shamon, which is going to be in the form of Snorlax. So Zigri will be playing the carry Goodra there. So we have Anon now taking the Absol, lurking the bushes. And the benefit of Absol is not only is it so good to get her across the map, but the clear in the central area is also very fast. And I think NGHax probably saw Anon being here, so they're going to be playing a little bit careful here.
Yeah, no access to that Shadow Sneak yet. But as we see, I think that is I'm not sure if that's the playoff moveset or the Shadow Claw moveset. We haven't seen either one come out. But both central laners here, 3v3 top side. Anon being very, very cautious before they decide to go in, because they know they can probably get caught out. But decides to go in on Serena, picking up a quick KO, turning that 3v2 into a 3v1. But nice work by Tomwan to stop Anon from scoring 24. But here comes Mimikyu to come in. It is going that Shadow Claw moveset, going for the brawl. Takes down Anon on the Absol. And Natsu's Revenge hold that top pad very nicely.
The best offense is also a good defense, but at the same time, when you have a Mimikyu with your Shadow Claw, that's going to be able to shred so much of those the HP bar, right, on the enemy team. And having not a second dash or a second damage move coming from Absol, it's just going to be easy feasting for NGHax. They will lock on once again on Liz, but it's all about whether you go in or not, right? Much like the double team that Meowscarada provides.
I agree. I think that Shadow Sneak is going to be trying to target that Miraidon every chance. Heavy Slam going in. Gudra is going for that Muddy Water moveset as well, as we've got a Brawl inside the top path. Giga Drain keeping Joe sustained, but does not matter. Shadow Claw hacks and slashes anything that moves. 7:30 on the clock to where bees are about to spawn. Shadow Claw is on Liz, but they decide not to go in. Nice safe play as Serena is now fully online.
Yeah, and I think for Naruto's Revenge, they're really going to be trying to keep Joe on the back foot here, especially how strong Pedalvinu is in the late game. If Joe isn't going to be able to get that 13, I mean, that AoE damage is going to be very hard for them to take down. But we have another engage now. Joker locked in with the Rock Tomb coming out from Invader. And I think this might be a good time for the Shadow Claw to come through. Joe on 1 HP and a Dream, and Anon able to knock out NG Hacks will mean that there is now relief in the top path. And they might just start this Regieleki.
Big shout outs to Crossel. Those were some very, very well timed, very well placed Rock Tombs to really keep as a Mimikyu and Serena from escaping. They had to turn around and take the 4v1 fight. Snorlax is here! Manages to get that one with the Heavy Slam, and I think just a basic attack move.
Ratus Redenti, that's the third one. I mean, I might be glazing them at the moment, but they've done so much for Team Naruto's Revenge right here with any Pokemon to their disposal, especially the defenders, which you don't expect to secure those Regielekis. A nice Midnight Slash from Anon to clear the field, and that sends Joker packing back to the pad, but it was actually a bait the whole time. You've got Angie Hack coming out from the bushes, knocking down Anon, and they look for more as the Shadow Sneak will be able to come out from cooldown. But seeing the Petal Dance Venu, seeing the Crustal Lobo, it is not a fight they want anymore.
Once again, Invader with the Rock Tombs just stealing everyone in, and Naruto's Revenge can't go down. They can't get out of that anywhere here, but here we go. We've got Absol, Anon, and Miraidon, and Liz is now joining the fray. It's a 4v1 situation. Naruto's Revenge pushing topside, and Antic Exodium are going to push this basement side.
Yeah, really smart decision by Naruto's Revenge. Seeing it's only a Regice, affording to try to push that top pad. It doesn't seem that they're going to be successful though, and in return, we do have a huge offensive siege on this basement pad from Antic Exodium, but here comes Ratus Redenti here to help out with the defense, and with that, it might mean back to the pad. No, we actually have a nice KO onto NG Hacks, so we have a 4v2 fight now for Antic Exodium. They do take out Ziggurat as well, and with Ratus Redenti falling, a great opportunity to get the points in and have a huge overdunk in this basement.
I cannot point out how good these Rock Tombs are coming out from Invader. First trapping the Mimikyu, could not get back in, had to Shadow Sneak in, and then doing another Rock Tomb as Anon picks a KO on the Blissey. He is schmoving and grooving. The score is 192 to 42. 5 minutes have passed. Check out these levels. Pretty even, I want to say, across the board. I mean, 3 level 11s versus 1 level 11, but Anon could get caught out. Has to use its Unite move to really go out. The Bliss Sisters came in to keep Joker alive, and I think AX are just going to back on out again. Brawl after brawl, Fu.
Yeah, these teams love to fight, don't they? And it's going to be AXO in the lead in terms of the points. They're going to look for a stomp onto Joe, but only chunks out half the HP, and the top pad is only on a little 2, so any small dunk from Invader can break this out as well. Speaking of breaking out, there's another fight coming in through in this top path, and a huge little X-Scissor to take out your Joker on the Serena. We have another KO onto NG Hacks. Yet again, these fights, it doesn't seem like Naruto's Revenge have enough damage to actually take down the tank that is Antic Exodium. And that might be a problem in the later bit of the game, especially since Joe has now reached level 12.
That is, like you said, it is the Death Ball comp that is coming through. Joe in front, Anon putting the damage, the huge damage coming out from Absol. Joe able to survive, and then DC with the Miraidon is just shredding them from the back. But let's not forget, Invader is stopping any kind of movement with those Rock Tombs. Could they push onto tier 2 here? We've got 3.5 minutes to go. Unite move still on deck. Only Absol has their Unite move, and only Mimikyu, but we're going for a push down. Bright Future Meteor Storm heading down. They are getting pressed onto this tier 2, Fu.
It's definitely a bright future, it seems like, for Antic Exodium, as they're going to be able to shred through with your enhanced charge beam as well. Play with me, not able to take down Anon at all, and like dominoes, we do have Natsu's Revenge falling down, and then the Regieleki doing their best to apply a bit of stun as well. However, as I say this, we still have a nice defense coming out from Natsu's Revenge. They just need to hold on a little bit more, but it's not going to be good enough, is it? The Regieleki will walk in, and then opportunity arises for Antic Exodium to break that top pad. Joe is going in with the Crustle, and yet again, I mean, we sound like a beaten record, but this Pokemon is going to be so hard for their team to take over.
The KO timers were just too short on the side of Nachi's Revenge. They kept jumping, but again, you've got DC with the Thunder ability that was just putting on damage. Petal Dance is there. Anon is now level 14 and 2 level 13s on the side of Antic Exodium. Only 1 level 13 on the side of Nachi's Revenge. 15 seconds. Regirock is going to be an interesting buff that I think Antic Exodium are not going to be too disappointed in, giving that a little extra buff heading on in, but any buff going in that keeps that Venusaur as tanky as it can be. But here we go. Rayquaza has spawned for, I think Antic Exodium know they're in the lead, so they're just going to try and keep Nachi's Revenge out, because look at this aggressive positioning.
Yeah, this is definitely a flip of the script from what we saw in game number 1. We have a 300-point lead for Antic Exodium. They don't really need this Rayquaza, and they know they can stay sustained as long as they stay together. There's really nothing that Natsu's Revenge can actually do to take them down. As I say, the Ziggurat is the first to fall, and the Queenly Ascendant also not able to be used, and that's going to be a numbers advantage now with the Cotton Crowd Crash to come down to ensure Joe stays in the field. Bright Future Meteor Storm to knock out Blissey. Tomwon is said running back. They're waiting for the carries to come back to go for the assistance. But now that means we do have a nice little poke. The Midnight Slash to come through. Anon secures the raid for AXO. And it all looks good coming out from that first game. AXO have woken up from their slumber. And they, with these dunks in, it looks like they have secured or about to secure their ticket into the Grand Finals.
They got pushed very hard in those first 2 games, and AXO definitely decided to wake the beast. Is there an answer for this Giga Drain Petal Dance Venusaur comp that they've got? Because Absol sitting behind them, Cross was doing a fantastic job with the Rock Tombs. Liz on point, MVP when it comes to healing, and DC putting that damage. It's a very, very well thought out comp, but I just don't know if there's an answer to it. For maybe we have a little bit more information when we get to have a look at the bands, like what Pokemon that Antic Exodium themselves don't want to go up against in this comp. But right now, they just seem unstoppable every time they pick up this Petal Dance Venusaur.
Yeah, I think just such a smart decision in terms of drafting from Antic Exodium, and that might be because of the experience as well. But I do have to say, though, credit where credit is due. And Natsu's Revenge really demonstrating that even Titans 4, and with their incredible double speeds to comp in those first 2 games, I mean, they have another chance as well, right? They are going to be able to run through the losers. However, for this set at least, AXO stands out on top, and they're going to be able to meet the winner of the losers finals in a bit back in the grand finals.
Yeah, look, sitting pretty in that grand finals, but their action's not going to stop anytime soon. Natsu's Revenge, like you said, this is not the first time that they've had to fight their way through the losers final. They've done it before. Those second place finishes coming to mind right now, but they're going to go up against a very game rough esports inside that losers final. But let's just have a look at the damage here. Anon and Joe both putting up 100k each, but look at Liz on that 90k healing as well, showing just how much they're able to sustain. And DC, the damage taken to the damage dealt. We always like to look at that ratio on attackers. Just too good at the moment.
The other, I guess, move choice that I was quite surprised is that it was a Stomp Serena rather than Triple Axel. Normally, Triple Axel is such a great move into really tanky comps, and perhaps maybe they thought it would have been a Venusaur, but I think going into the fact that they have such tanky teams on the side of Natsu's Revenge, it just, surely you would have known that Joe will bring out the Petal Dance, and you know, that's what Petal Dance loves, right? The Giga Drain for everyone in that cone is going to heal them up so much, reduce the damage greatly, I think about 60% or something like that. So it's definitely a Pokemon that's very hard to take him down, especially if you hit that level 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, and look at those bans. Talonflame, Meowscarada banned up from the side of AXO. We talk about when Talonflame gets to level 13, that damage penetration stat. It probably could have been the one thing that could have given a little bit more damage that was needed to take down Joe on that Venusaur as well. But then, NGHax try as they might to try and get to DC on that Miraidon. And Invader just doing an incredible job with those Rock Tombs. I just could not... The amount of times that they stopped Nati's Revenge from trying to retreat, trying to even defend their own pads, having to go around those Rock Tombs. Incredible disruption play from the entire team. I think that was just a great overall team performance from AXO.
A fantastic fight, and we're going to have the replays up shortly for you guys to watch, folks. And I think a lot of the moments, the crucial moments, was that, whoever has the Speedster seems to have a easier time finding the snowball effect, right? And that's what we saw in the early games. Anon gets taken down from NGHax, and I think NGHax did a very good job to try to match the snowball effect that Anon was trying to enact onto their team. And in a lot of these moments, it was really the Shadow Claw that proved to be a great move choice, wasn't it? But, as we get to the later time, it gets to a point where there was not enough sustain on Mimikyu to 1v1 or 1v2 the Petal Dance Venusaur. And, yet again, having a Rock Tomb able to kind of get these Pokemons away from their carries or the supporters, rather, it just meant that it's just much harder, I think, to kind of take down.
I think again, you could probably try to just walk away from Joe if he's running at you with that Petal Dance, but those Rock Tombs just make it inescapable. And that means that Joe is just going to have the time of his life here as we go. Nice. Again, with Ratus Redenti on that Snorlax securing the Regieleki out of absolutely nowhere. This push here, again, Rock Tomb sealing off anyone else from coming through, but the defense of the pad was masterful from AXO here. Liz coming in to provide the healing. But again, a beautiful Rock Tomb stopping Ratus Redenti and Blissey from actually getting anywhere.
And you have to... It begs the question, was a Rip of the Rayquaza an option for Nati's Revenge? The only problem is, even if AXO loses that Rayquaza secure... The counter push potential is still so great, right, for them. If they just kept their Unite move, they have the Venusaur Unite move, they have a Crustal Unite move. I think they weren't really scared for that option as well. I'm just trying to think of the way that maybe Nati's Revenge could have played that differently, but I think on paper, from a draft perspective, it's either don't let Venusaur get 13 or the game becomes incredibly hard.
That's also hard to do because sometimes if Joe is struggling to get those levels, he will just go off and farm. They will just go off and farm. They won't participate, and they'll make sure that they get the levels to come back. So to ensure that level 13, this here is where I think things went quite wrong for Nati's Revenge. Just the constant jumping, the constant pad pressure. Because as they jumped, they just kept getting KO'd, which meant that DC was able to hit that level 13, which meant that Anon was able to hit that level 14 because they were KOing Nati's Revenge maybe even seconds after they jumped into those pads.
And another unfortunate thing, I think, for Joker as well, is they weren't able to get that Serena Unite move off to get those iframes and keep sustaining that fight. And with both Ziggurat also going down, the main damage dealer was on the side of NGHax, right, on the Mimikyu. And we saw from this replay, it's going to be just the Blissey and the Snorlax remaining, and that is a total order for them to secure against all 5 members of AXO. So we'll follow along Nati's Revenge's a journey as we get prepared for the next set, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to be in the losers finals against Bruff Esports. We'll be back. We're going to have Kyle and Alex casting that for you guys. So don't go anywhere. Go grab a snack or two. We'll be right back very soon.
And welcome back on in Pokemon Unite Trainers, Oceania, the final stretch play-ins. And we are down to the lower side bracket. I am super excited. I am Steel Agent Kyle for those who have never been here before. And with me, right over to my right, cameras are flipped, so I have to like...
Cameras are flipped, yeah.
It's technically my left when I'm talking, but for all intents and purposes, it is my right.
Somewhere in there.
So somewhere in there, we're all good. But welcome back, Pokemon trainers, and we are back. Alex, we had a long day today of North America, and we are crossing the globe. What are we excited about seeing this next set?
We are excited to see quite a bit, because on one hand, we just saw Antic x Odium be able to take down a team that, like Natu's Revenge, which started off with a bang of a, big old goose egg dropping onto Antic, and then Antic just came back roaring back with a 2-0 comeback, reverse sweep, sending them down. So I don't think Natu's Revenge is done. Losers bracket is still there, but Bruff Esports was actually, no, I think I actually have that incorrect. Do I? No, there they are against Bruff Esports. So they have to go through Bruff Esports first if they want another chance against Antic Odium.
Yeah, Antic looked really good in those last two. It got a little scary there for a second, but let's talk about some of the Pokemon that we're very interested in seeing today. I do want to talk about one of my favorites. It's going to be the Psyduck. It is causing all sorts of terror in the Thea Sky ruins. Maybe not even just the Thea Sky, but even in Remote Stadium and Ranked. So you look at it, Psyduck, Surf, Psychic is kind of the build of choice, even though we saw a little bit of Bubble Beam earlier today in North America. Some of the highlights, it's still the newest supporter, maybe until Alchemy comes out. Please give me another supporter, Timmy. Please, I beg of you. Please. I beg of you. Just a little guy. One of the things that it really likes doing is helping some of those dive Pokemon escape, peril, getting them out of dodge. The Surf is just a great tool to push the enemies back. And Psychic does the exact same, or even in some cases, pulls the enemies in close for a nice little hug from some of those speedsters. My items of choice, XP share, the Cursed Incense, and my favorite thing on Psyduck, I cannot talk about a cast without talking about leftovers, especially on Psyduck. You kind of time it up with the passive with that headache gauge. Enter, exit combat, get in, get out, get some healing, especially with very few teams running heavy healers. It's kind of a nice little tool to stay on the board, stay on the map, continue pressuring the Pokemon up. But yeah, that's my Psyduck. I love it. I think with the Speedster meta kind of the way it is right now, a lot of teams are electing to ban Speedsters, so Psyduck has been kind of staying on the map.
Which, honestly, as a fan of Little Duck, as I like to call Psyduck, being able to stun, being able to save, and on top of being able to save, you could also ride the Surf with your teammates and kind of boost them along, too. But in talking about boosting and talking about scary things and just the meta that we are in, who's scarier than my boy Gengar? Oh, sorry, production, is that wrong? Gengar spotlight, baby. We're talking about the guy from outer space. Look at his little suit. What I like to believe is the prime ability is Dream Eater and Shadow Ball. Hex Sludge Bomb is fine. It can rip a lot better, but Dream Eater not only can burst and, just an extreme burst, you're going to win the 1v1 most of the time, unless you're fighting Snorlax. But on top of that, if you're trying to escape and help your team escape, you can throw the Dream Eater back to put some enemy Pokemon to sleep. Some of the builds that I recommend are definitely, you can go Choice Specs, Wise Glasses, and Spoon, or if you're feeling a little frisky, you can drop the Spoon, go for the Triple Nerd, aka the Triple Glasses with special attack specs, Eject Button, or Full Heal. But let me tell you, this Pokemon, it is a terror in the right hands. I have seen a lot of proper pentas and the buffs, and let me tell you, if Little Duck is the chillest guy, Gengar is the antithesis, aka not a very chill guy, because they will rip through a team if the combo is done with Dream Eater, Shadow Ball, Dream Eater. It is a terror in the proper hands. Some notable trainers, DC and Lunar, are both trainers in this region who have been able to use Gengar effectively, that being if it can actually get through the ban phase, which, let's be honest, the Spooky guy doesn't get through too often.
Yeah, it's been very common that teams have just elected to go ahead and ban it off of the map. It's tough to play into, especially in the hands of the right player. So we'll see what we're gonna get here. But right off the clip, we do have NG hacks on the Gengar blue badge, by the way. That seems terrifying. And also the Snorlax. So this could be a really tricky play here for Bruff Esports. Robbie's going to have his hands full on that Slowbro.
Absolutely. This is where things are going to get very interesting for both of these teams. Having Naomi, though, on the Buzzwole is going to be great. Irwin on the Absol is going to be a terror. And we kind of saw similar things in North America earlier today, Kyle. And with Wigglytuff having its stun ability to slow things down, it might be the key piece. But I don't know about you. I'm very excited to see Joker on Blaziken. But that is just me because I'm a big Blaziken stan.
It's going to probably running the double stacking items, but immediately off the bat, they are getting pressured, chunked down, forced to retreat to the pad to grab some shields. But it does look like it was Natu's Revenge that was able to secure at least a little bit of the bunny experience.
Absolutely, and this is where things get tricky. I mean, the Q-Charm passive ability can keep you there, and for Torchic does not want to be in fights for very long, and surprise, surprise, Buzzwole can actually do a pretty decent amount of damage, so you really don't want to go up against this. Absol has already made their way downtown. They're going to try to go for a little bit of a combo here, but we do see the Hexgar as they were just kind of blooping all around, unable to get a KO, and this is where things start getting interesting. Is Sludge Bomb Hexgar viable? Yes. Is it the most optimal? I would say no, but we're going to see as this new engagement is going to go in as a big old surf kind of puts things on ice.
Snorlax going down in the basement path was pretty tough. It looked like Bruff Esports got a majority of the wild Pokemon experience in that bottom path. You saw how much points they were carrying, so it seemed like likely before we got down there, they were heavily winning that path. Top path going equally as well for them. Wigglytuff is being a menace against Natu's Revenge.
Oh, this is where things get tricky. Joker has not been able to get the stacks that they need, and having Buzzwole at level 6, approaching level 7 when it's going to get Smackdown, is just going to make it that much harder. Luckily, they were able to secure a little bit more. They want to try to poke it out, and that's kind of all you can do right now. This is the time where you, as a Blaziken, have to get your stacks, but you got to be careful. Irwin's lurking within the wings, going to go in with the Shadow Claw, and that is a Dazzling Gleam Aurora Veil A9 that we're going to be able to see, as we already saw the Dazzling Gleam and the Super Slam there. The Superpower able to pick them up. Irwin might be in a little bit of trouble as they get caught by the Surf. Gengar going to get a good KO for themselves. Meanwhile, this A9 setting things ablaze with ice, baby. That Dazzling Gleam is stunning.
This is about as bad as things can go for Natu's Revenge early on. They've lost this T1 goal zone along with a lot of their wild Pokemon experience for Bruff Esports with all the pressure. You already have that level 8 on the Absol, very close to ticking into 9, and they are chunking. They are chopping through this Trevenant despite how bulky it is. This has been all Bruff early on, and it's not looking like it's going to get much better anytime soon.
No, and Ziggury, I think, accidentally ran into a wall. They did not want to do that. They were hoping to scoop up some of those Swablues, and then this allowed Irwin to kind of hit it twice with the pursuit. And look at this great job coming out of the Slowbro, kind of holding things down. But Snorlax able to be like a thief in the night, coming out of nowhere with the heavy slams. Wigglytuff, they're going to try to slow down, say, hey, whoa, pump the brakes a little bit here. Meanwhile, Buzzwole wasn't a part of any of this. Naomi was on top lane, able to get the Regieleki, which then applies big pressure to Natu's Revenge to try to go defend it, which allows Bruff Esports to then try to converge onto this Blaziken.
Yeah, this is looking really good for Bruff, despite losing that objective. Gengar looking for a way in. Blaziken looking for a way out, maybe looking for an engage point. Absol, though, they fire their Unite move. They're able to take out the Blaziken, so great pressure from Bruff Esports, despite, however, they lose 2 Pokemon.
Oh, very difficult. We saw the Ultra Soul Slam, and all of a sudden, I've become a liar as that Gengar gets not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. That is a 4-piece meal, a kid's playground here, as this Gengar was able to get 4. And now, all of a sudden, things are slowly starting to go in favor for Natu's Revenge. Bruff Esports has to hold on. They can't let this lead slip away from their fingers.
Absolutely can't, but Natu's Revenge, like you said, is kind of starting to claw their way back in. This Gengar is sneakily crept into the level lead as Absol just also evens that cap right now. So if you're Natu's Revenge, continue putting the pressure on. Find some ways to find some goal zones, maybe break one of them and, put some pressure on the map because you have an opening. You need to turn some of this experience into some points to give yourself a little bit of time and space, especially when you have a Hoopa.
Absolutely. Joker kind of positioned really well. We're going to have a good engagement coming out, and the block is going to allow Blaziken to go in. Now do you see that the Slowbro is going to be taken care of? No big deal. And now another heavy slam going in. We have 3 seconds before a new objective is spawned. It is a Regice big heavy slam coming out from the side of the Snorlax. We do see the Snow Globe kind of to come out. The Hoopa rings are unleashed, unbound. Meanwhile, they're just trying to focus on the objective. One member is going to be going down. That's Naomi. And now they're trying to converge. Slowbro trying to do everything that they can. That's 2 KOs for Gengar. Gengar might be looking for a third, but they're going to be able to get it. A9 trying to run away, but the heavy slam able to cut it down to size. And just like that, Natu's Revenge putting on a clinic 25 overcap into the tier 1. And all of a sudden, the pendulum, the momentum, the tempo is starting to swing in Natu's Revenge.
And that's what you can't let happen if you have a Gengar on the opposite side. The ability that it has to snowball games is terrifying as the Ghost it is. So level 13 is very scary to look at. And like you said, Natu's Revenge has turned the momentum. And when I think about these next few objectives that are going to be spawning up, especially Rayquaza, you look at each team, the secure tools that Natu's Revenge had. That was a very heavily contested objective down there. They have Gengar and they have Blaziken that can both close out any of those contested objectives. So Bruff Esports kind of on their heels here.
This is where things get dangerous. 2 big members, and we see Gengar going for a swim, trying to find the A9, trying to find a target, and they're going to be able to converge in. They hit the Sludge Bomb. A9 is doing everything that they can to try to stay alive. They get knocked out. Wigglytuff, it's a Wiggy with a dream. This Wiggy might be shut down. Naomi's going to try to make it back. Slow Beam does finally catch the Gengar, but Gengar's blipping around with the Hex. Not going to be able to stay alive. That's a very guttural feeling, though, but we do see the Midnight Slash takedown Blaziken. Good defense coming out from Bruff Esports, but it's gotta hurt to know you had the Gengar in your clutches and you let it run away because you were unable to have the follow-up.
Man, that was just gotta feel bad. Perfect Unite move from Robbie on the slow beam with the Gengar in its grasp, but yeah, just couldn't close the job. However, they find a consolation prize. They're able to take this Regieleki off the map. That'll give them a little bit of pressure to maybe break this T2 pad or even start pivoting towards the bottom T1 goal zone, or even just take some of the experience that they have on the map off, get their levels up, and get ready for Rayquaza. The final stretch of the final stretch play-ins of game number 1 is going to be starting in about 10 seconds, but there is a Regice that Natu's Revenge might be going for here.
It's interesting that if they do decide to go for this, because again, Regice out of all the Regis does tend to be kind of outshone, and already we see Snorlax, we see Radis just kind of looking around, trying to scope them out. Again, positioning right now for Naomi is pretty aggressive. If they're not careful, they do hit the smackdown though, knock the tree away, but will they start an engagement? It might be Snorlax.
Snorlax finding a way is going to be the way. They got to find some sort of block to land on, maybe push somebody into danger, or maybe just away from one of your carries. So that's going to be the key engage point for Natu's Revenge. Great bush checking here. It's going to continuously grab some vision. The other thing that you got to watch for is a flank from Gengar. If it's able to take out one of your unprotected Pokemon, it could be problems.
And on top of that, it is level 15. Midnight Slash might have been procced prematurely. You don't get any value. The Ultra Soul Slam does land on Gengar, but Gengar reverse Unos it. It's able to Gengar do what Gengar does. Gengar has already gone underground. They're looking for a target. They're waiting. They're seeing who to go after. A9 able to move out of the way. Hoopa Rings are unbound. 3 members are already down for Rough Esports, and they're going to go for a little bit of a flipperoonie here, but no. Naomi's the only one to be able to make it back, and Natsu's Revenge able to secure the Rayquaza, and now it is come on and slam. Welcome to the Joker Spam, because they are scoring and they are dropping buckets, and with the 45 seconds remaining and a close to a 500-point deficit, Bruff's Esports gonna have to wait the white flag. It did not work out the way they wanted, and Gengar was able to survive through all of it.
I am impressed by NG Hacks here, using kind of the off-meta, maybe the off-meta build? I mean, yeah. It's kind of hard to say it's off-meta because everything that Gengar does in this current meta, it seems like it works. But a lot of teams, a lot of players have elected to use the Shadow Ball Dream Eater, but he's making this Sludge Hex build look incredible. It makes me wonder what might have been banned, because, I mean, when you have a Sludge Hex Gengar, I mean, having a Blissey on the opposite side could be really problematic. So maybe when we look at this, maybe Blissey was banned one way or another, either from Natsu's Revenge themselves. I mean, it seems like that might have been the strategy here.
Right. I mean, Blissey, I got to imagine Blissey was banned to allow this little guy to run around, especially when the being able to cleanse with your safeguard, and then it's just like, okay, what are you gonna do now? It's
what
one of
now,
the things
Mr.
where
Krabs?
it's just like, are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? Like, what do you do? The Blissey, I've called it the Titan, and there we see it. It was in fact banned, along with 2 speedsters being Talonflame and Meowscarada and Umbreon, and this was a relatively close match. For the first half, it really felt like Bruff Esports had everything going in their favor. They had momentum. They were able to slow down Joker. Ziggury was making mistakes, and you know, NG Hacks needed to get online and get going. But around like the halfway point, you started kind of to feel the momentum swinging more in favor for Natsu's Revenge. You had all these levels, you had Joker as a Blaziken, and you talked about it best. They had the secure tools, they had rip tools, and when you have things like Trevenant and Snorlax on the same squad, it is hard to get to some of these Pokemon.
It's very hard, and especially with 3 straight Regices. I mean, we talk about how that's kind of like the Regi that's a lot of teams don't particularly go for, but when you have such an incredibly bulky composition, you have that Trevenant, you have that Snorlax, Hoopa, especially when it's unbound, and then even Joker on the Blaziken does have surprising amount of bulk, especially with the recovery that it has from its passive. That's actually a relatively strong Regi for them, considering the constant HP recovery. So it kind of helped them stay within the matches in those big fights, and you saw it there, especially during Rayquaza.
I know, and don't get me wrong, I completely understand the ideology that Bruff Esports was going for. You know, you have the Dazzling Gleam and the Aurora Veil with Wigglytuff and Slowbro. You're thinking it's fine. I think for Bruff Esports, there needed to be a moment of more clarity communication. We saw it mess up when Robbie went for the Slow Beam and there was no real follow-up. We saw it early on that, like, we saw the Gengar right here. It wasn't playing as well. It really felt like Bruff Esports was going to be running away with this game.
It really thought like the first 2 minutes, it looked like this Absol was just going to run away with the game. But you see how quick things can change in a blink of an eye. It wasn't down here, but it was, I think, closer to around like the 7-minute mark. It started to look up for Natsu's Revenge. They started to find their way. I think it really, this pivotal moment was this secure from the Snorlax. The heavy slam, perfectly timed, took that first objective off of the map for them.
And it really helps to have that EXP, because now you're looking at Blaziken, who is very close to ticking into 8. You have your Gengar, Naomi, and this was the fight where things really felt like Gengar truly found its groove, its rhythm, what it needed to do, as we saw the push. And the defense that ends up coming out of this is what really allowed Natsu's Revenge to kind of get back on the map, as we see Gengar just kind of setting itself up. Look at that. Look at the way it just goes in. And Gengar just went around and around. And this is where it got that 4-piece. It KO'd 3 and then said, I will have another.
I mean,
And
yeah,
that's
Gengar
where
did that lifting, but you gotta give props to Ziggury right there. That Horn Leech was exactly what you expect. It was demonic. It was a devil Horn Leech for them. And then fantastic Unite move from Hoopa down here. Great zoning once again from Ziggury, keeping the damage away from the Reggie, allowing Blaziken to get that secure.
Yeah, and that's the key here. It really felt like they started working like a well-oiled machine. You had Snorlax finding Pokemon, pulling them out. You had Ziggury, who at one point, I believe, picked up 4 Pokemon at once with 1 Horn Leech to allow their team to survive. And look at this communication. Wigglytuff was just living on a dream, but could not suffice. Naomi tried their absolute best, but when you have this much great defense to pull your Pokemon off, and this is what allows everybody to survive.
Yeah, no follow-up on the Slowbro Unite. Originally, I thought it was like, oh, there's no follow-up. But honestly, what it was the Snorlax. An incredible heavy slam block prevented Naomi from being able to lift up Gengar and close out that KO. So while it might have been a lack of follow-up, it wasn't for a lack of trying. But Natsu's Revenge, just time after time, getting it done in these team fights.
Did you see that timing of the Ultra Swole Slam to then blip to avoid any damage? The absolute reflexes, that's rough. I mean, to put it simply, that sucks. You had your target, you're about to land, and Gengar says, let me just blip out of here. Oh, I'm sorry, did you miss? That sounds like a personal problem.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Sounds like a personal problem. And Ziggury did a great job zoning. We saw that the A9 was trying their absolute mightiest to try to make something happen, but all units were on deck, and then the Rings Unbound really felt like the game was over, as Irwin is looking like their lonesome self trying to make something happen. And we see the Psycho Cut come out. We're thinking something's gonna happen here. Blaziken quickly pivots, hits the focus, and then just like that big ol' heavy slam, and then Blaziken goes in, says, we have secured Bravo. Mission complete.
Fantastic work from Natsu's Revenge. I'm excited to see what Game 2 has in store for us. I think these teams played it very well. The thing that we talked about was that early game lead that Bruff got onto. It just very unfortunate turn of events. I don't know what they need to do here in game number 2. It seemed like it went really well early on, but I think when you have a lack of secure tools, I mean, you saw it. Ninetales going more of that A-presser style with that Aurora Veil, Dazzling Gleam. They just didn't quite have the secure tools. Yeah, you have Absol, but when your Speedster is your only secure tool and you have 3 other members of your team down, it's just an almost impossible task to get out of there unscathed. But we do have game number 2 here of your lower bracket finals. Natsu's Revenge on your purple side, they are up 1-0.
Now, this is what I love about OCE. I mean, I love a lot of things about OCE. The fact that we have friends there and we've been invited from, the fact that we're in and we get invited is a great feeling. But you know what's another great feeling? When you see Pokemon that you don't see enough in NA. I mean, when you look at the side of Bruff Esports and Natsu's Revenge, you're looking at both of these teams and you're seeing Zeraora, you're seeing Delphox. When was the last time you saw a Delphox in a play along with a Goodra? Like, Delphox and Gengar are going to be everything for the side of Natsu's Revenge.
Yeah, this Fennekin is going to need to get online quickly because this Zeraora is running havoc up in that top path. Bottom side is going relatively well for Bruff Esports. They have a lot of the KOs on the wild Pokemon experience, especially the Snorlax has fantastic last hitting ability and really pushing their advantage down.
I mean, if you look at it, Zero Aura, Naomi, they are already level 5.
I love it.
And they're 9 minutes into the game. Gengar is lurking, but you have 2 level 5s and the Clefable. Like you said, this Zero Aura started off very, very strong. And right now, it looks like they're going to be handling this all alone. They're waiting to see Gengar make something. And just like that, go in, get a little bit of EXP, and they're already level 6, Kyle.
Yeah, it was Zero Aura was able to take out that Altaria. And look at that. I think it was the Clefable that was able to steal away that central contested experience away from Natu's Revenge. So Bruff Esports doing really great job on their micro plays here. Clefable putting a lot of pressure. And I think this is where you're seeing the struggles from Natu's Revenge and why this Fennekin is not great in path early on. It just needs that level 7 to be really useful. And Zero Aura, a very good early scaler. And it is looking tough right now.
It is looking very tough. Level 7 in a lane. Meanwhile, the opposing team's central area Pokemon still hasn't reached that. All of a sudden, we saw this story before. We saw Bruff Esports being able to hold onto a lot of a big lead, but now it feels a little bit more. And again, this Fennekin or this Bryson now has barely reached level 5. It needs its level 7 to really get going, and it might take a little bit for the side of Natu's Revenge to kind of really get the ball rolling. But like I said before, Bruff Esports had an amazing lead in game 1 and ended up losing. That's not to say Natu's Revenge can't make a comeback.
It's definitely possible, especially when you have a Gengar on your side. You just need to find some KOs. I believe this is a Shadow Ball Gengar, so a little bit different from previously. A little bit of a push here for Bruff. They're likely going to be able to close out this T1 goal zone. Not a huge overcap, but I think they're relatively content with it, especially given what happened in the previous match.
I think they're very content as we're seeing the Flail Axe come into play here. And now you get once again to apply that pressure. You allow one teammate to get the Regieleki. You have your big tank of a unit, Snorlax, who with a little chef hat, knowing that they're going to cook. And now you're posing the question in Natu's Revenge. Are you going to have all units here? And if you don't, this bottom objective might be free for the taking, but we do see NG does have the Gengar level 9 once again, and that is a Shadow Ball this time around.
We have the Fire Spin coming out from the Delphox. We have a Secure coming out. It is Absol. So great plays for Bruff Esports with no tanks down here for Natu's Revenge. They see the writing on the wall, though. They were looking for maybe an engage point, but think better of it. Maybe peel towards their own experience on the map. They got what they wanted. They got both objectives on the map. So early game has been all Bruff Esports. If you're Natu's Revenge, you really need to find a KO here. Maybe on this Absol, maybe on the Zero Aura. But it's going to be on the back of this Gengar, and it's got to start sooner than later.
Yeah, this is where you don't want to be, especially because we did say around the 7-minute mark in game number 1, things started to turn around, but it does look like Bruff has maybe learned from their past mistakes. They don't want to overcommit, but we do see the Dream Eater Shadow Ball combo is going to be coming out, and we're going to see if this Natu's Revenge plan is actually going to work out, because it does look like Absol might be going for a 40 on their own. Again, it feels like Natu's Revenge this time. It feels more oppressed more than anything.
It's feeling pretty good right now. Absol was able to take out that Delphox. Points are going in for Bruff. Once again, they're doing a great job. There is the Psychic Solaire from the Espeon. Clefable might be going down, but a great peel, a great gravity, and they're going to be regenerated very quickly. But this Gengar is absolutely heating up for Natu's Revenge. That's not what you want if you're Bruff.
If you're Bruff Esports, you do not want to give up any extra EXP to this Gengar, as Gengar is going to try to look for another one, and this might be Natu's Revenge trying to swing the pendulum in their favor. They do have the fanciful fireworks. This is their moment to try to make a convergence play. This is what they needed. They need to make something, but the Midnight Slash does come out, but they get knocked out by Gengar, and all of a sudden, this is what Natu's Revenge needed. They're back in the game. Good KOs. Level-wise, they're starting to gain some. Meanwhile, Naomi is going to try to take advantage of this and try to get the Regieleki to keep momentum. But all of a sudden, Kyle, we might be experiencing some deja vu here.
Yeah, it's like deja vu all over again. Gengar is able to take that Regice away. Ziggury on a mission to try to stop this Regieleki along with this Delphox, able to accomplish that mission no problem. But like you said, this Gengar is very scary, and this is exactly what you want if you're Natu's Revenge. You've held on. You have a very late scaling team, especially that Delphox Gengar. So it's been relatively advantageous for Bruff with those early scalers like Absol. So they've kind of held around, and if you're able to maybe find a couple more KOs, especially with your Delphox, you'd love to get that thing to level 13 by the time Rayquaza hits. So if you're able to kind of, piggyback off of what Gengar's doing, get a couple assists here and there, that should really help out the late game.
Especially when it comes to the fanciful fireworks. That's one of, if in my opinion, one of the best tools you have as a Pokemon to help really siege and try to take over and converge onto a pad, because your enemy team doesn't want to take that damage, the health reduction. It's just an overall great move to try to siege a tower. And like you said, if they're able to get another KO via assist or something, that would put them in a much more advantageous position, as they are going to be going they're going to be going with the shot that shoots out. I forgot what that move is.
Mystical
and then
Fire?
fires about Mystical Fire. That's what it's called. Moves. Pokemon. They're a thing. Memorize.
They do. It does a thing. The abilities, they definitely do some damage. They might do some stuns every once in a while.
Yeah,
Maybe even sometimes they're self buffs. I mean, the abilities are abilities, and they're fantastic. Level 14 on this Gengar is incredibly terrifying. It's a 1v1 machine, so you do not want to get isolated if you're Bruff Esports. You want to try to fight this thing together. Find a way to stop the snowball, the chaining of their abilities. So if you're able to get some stuns on them, maybe stop them in their tracks, that is going to be the key in this final stretch, which is going to begin in about 20 seconds. Regieleki, though, going over to Bruff.
Oh, but look what has spawned in the basement. That is not something you want to see if you're the side of Bruff Esports, because they're going to get an extra buff. And if you're Gengar right now, you're looking down and you're saying, if I can get that Absol, if I can get that Espeon, they're gone. They are not going to be sticking around long. And those are going to be the primary key targets. Gengar did get to level 14. Meanwhile, they're going to try a little bit of a maneuver, but it does look like Naomi's going to put a little bit of a pressure, dunking 100, forcing Natu's Revenge to make a play.
That's a really great start for Bruff. Now it's Natu's Revenge that needs to make the first move, because Bruff knows they're in the lead by a significant margin at this point. Gengar is going to have to find someone. So if you're Bruff, you just hold the door, try to find where these Pokemon are, and just try to slowly pick them off one by one. You don't want to overextend.
Robbie going for a little bit of a search, and Ziggury might have been caught out as they have to proc their Unite move. 1 minute 15 remaining. Nobody wants to fully commit, but somebody's going to have to, and they know it's going to be them. Fire Spin does catch the Espeon, but we do see Robbie coming from behind, trying to make something happen. Nobody's gone down, though, and we do see the Unite move coming out from Wigglytuff. Gengar still going in on the rip. Rayquaza's looking at about 50 HP. Big power nap coming out of Snorlax. That wastes that Unite move. Bliss Assist goes across the sky.
Oh,
and
yes.
Naomi with the Electric Gale, able to get the secure, and just like that, Bruff Esports staying alive. Call the Bee Gees, because they are staying alive, as 4 members of Natu's Revenge are obliterated in a blink of an eye, and all members of Bruff Esports are going in for the score.
Incredible secure there from Naomi. So this is the play that they had. They had much better secure once some of the Natu's Revenge members had fallen down. So they kind of had that open door. They knew that they already had a lead. So even if, Natu's Revenge were able to maybe take that out from underneath their feet, they knew they just could be able to break some shields and have the win, because a couple Pokemon would not have it anyway. So really heads up play there. I don't mind the rip. I love the secure tools that they had. They knew exactly what their win conditions were. They went for it and perfectly executed. Bruff Esports forces a game number 3 here in your lower bracket finals.
I mean, you love to see a game number 3. Like you said, it really felt like they had their plan. Robbie was coming up from behind to try to create a couple of stacks to try to slow down Engie, and it kind of worked out. Ziggury did have to proc their Unite move a little bit prematurely, so they weren't able to get as much value as they probably wanted to. And while there were moments where we felt like we were going to be visiting deja vu, Bruff Esports this time kind of rode those gales, the wind, to try to make it happen, to try to keep that momentum going. And honestly, a great job by everybody. And look at little Wiggly taking the tank. And again, it's not something you see normally. It did what it needed to do, but for the side of Bruff Esports, they took advantage of the pieces that they had and they rode the momentum, never truly giving the power back to Bruff.
Yeah, there was, I think, a moment in that Ray fight, too, where I think there might have been a little bit of either a miscommunication or maybe an unfortunate timing of thing. I think it was Joker on the Delphox where they were trying to fire the Unite. They did, but a great play by Naomi dove on top of them with a discharge that forced the Shedinja doll out from Joker. So that ended up canceling the Delphox Unite move, which could have been maybe a turning point there for them. So we may have to see that replay when it gets back there. But overall, Bruff Esports, great comeback here in game number 2.
Great job. I mean, we saw it early on. They were able to finally get the secure this first time around. Wasn't really stolen. And even in their early game, we saw when Naomi was diving in. I mean, in that first engagement, we already had Zeraora at level 5. And like you said, I think that pivotal moment, we might be talking about a different story if the Shedinja doll didn't absolutely cause that Unite move. But again, we can slow it down thanks to our great production team. Once again, shout out to Shivam and Rosander, who have been our producer and also our eye in the sky on Thea Sky Ruins.
I love these plays here. This is Bruff just really putting the pressure on early. And you love to see it, right? I mean, that's exactly what they needed to do in game number 2. They got off to a good start in game number 1. They just weren't able to find their way to kind of close it out. Early on, it was all them, though. 148 to 9. Some great plays here, but this is where it started to get a little scary for Bruff Esports. This Gengar started to get online. The Delphox getting online was really massive. And this is the moment here, Alex. This is where I believe it was Naomi that jumps on top of Joker and forces that Shed doll.
I do believe you're right, because we saw throughout this, Robbie was trying to get behind them. Meanwhile, Gengar and this Gujo were just kind of padding away at this Ray. And look at that Shedinja doll forces it out, and they were unable to get it back. Great job by Naomi to go in. I think that's the Volt Switch. Goes in, discharge, and then leaves in time. And now we're looking at Ray, who has just been chipped away. The Power Nap picks up 3. So you're thinking Gengar's going down. Gengar's looking for a way to secure this, end this. And Naomi patiently waiting for the perfect moment to strike. We see the Bliss Assist target go, so you know there's going to be some damage. There's a couple of knockups. Damage is coming. We see the Unite move coming out, and Naomi
perfect.
Is the one who's able to do it. That's how you do it. That is a team. That is how you synchronize everything, because you even had the Psychic Solaire. You wanted to keep the rest of Natsu's Revenge out of that equation. You wanted to make sure that you were the team there, and Naomi, and again, with when we saw, who was it on the Espeon? It was Koi. They were there. Yeah. The Bliss assistants. It just all worked out. They used their time wisely. They got the stuns, and they were able to make something beautiful happen to then give us a game 3.
Yeah, Rayquaza was at about a quarter health, and everybody on Bruff Esports was still holding on to their Unite move. It didn't take them long to just go ahead and fire their L trigger button, because it was immediate. Once that got to about quarter health, you saw everybody and their mom start to utilize it, especially for the secure. Naomi coming out ahead, and that is what forced that game 3 situation here for these two squads. I'm excited for this game 3. Game 3s are always really exciting plays. I mean, based on the first 2 matches, Bruff got off to those quick starts. I mean, Alex, how do you feel about these quick starts? Do you think that Natsu's Revenge might start thinking about playing something a little bit more early game to not fall behind and be forced to kind of come back late game?
Yeah, I think so. It's one of those things where the Pokemon that you're sending into the central area needs to come out better. Not to say that Haunter isn't. It's just that when it comes to that early game, when you have Pokemon that are already pre-evolved or just kind of ready to rock and roll, you're able to make a lot of things happen. I mean, we saw how good Naomi was on the Zeraora. And don't get me wrong, there are some Pokemon that are kind of, late game scalers and they perform really, really well. But in the end, it really boiled down to the fact that I do think if they want to be able to have that rematch with Antic, and Antic is watching right now because they had a little bit of a slow start themselves, they have to realize that we need a little bit more early game, maybe like something like a Buzzwole, something that's already, you don't have to feed that much. And at level 5 can do a lot of things for your team.
Buzzwole. I like Buzzwole. I think it's definitely still a Pokemon that could be pretty strong here. I think there are a lot of good early game Pokemon. I think we saw a lot of Zacian for North America today. You saw that getting run a lot in the top half, but we've even seen some teams kind of utilize that in that central area just to get off to a really good level 5 start and come to path with a lot of abilities, a lot of damage, a lot of speed. I mean, Zacian is terrifyingly in the early game. It's even kind of a monster if you get off to a level lead and kind of stay that way. Just kind of like all the all-rounders. All the all-rounders are pretty nutty, despite even the speedsters getting the buffs now. But we saw that double speedster comp from Bruff Esports. Before, our good friend Husky absolutely hated double speedster, but with how things have been going, how this meta is shaped up, this double speedster seems like it's almost going to be the norm now.
Yeah, it does, because speedsters are very, very strong right now. If for those of you that have been living under a rock, there was a new patch on Pokemon Day, and there was 4 Pokemon that were given a new stat into the game, Piercing, and those were Talonflame, Meowscarada, Gengar, and Absol. Absol was already performing really well.
Yeah.
So now you're put in this weird position of, do you ban out the speedsters? But then that allows a lot of other things to come in, and you don't really want to, I don't want to say waste, but you don't want to use or burn your bans on Pokemon like that. So we did see a double speedster comp, and Snorlax, I still believe, is one of the biggest winners. I know we can all talk about Gengar all day and night. You can talk about the speedsters, but I think consistently, Kyle, at least in North America, we saw a Snorlax either it's in the game or it's banned. Never have I seen it left on the table. What we did see left on the table quite often was Blissey, which blew our mind in North America.
It was very surprising considering the play rate that it received in the prior month finals, which was almost none because it was banned almost all the time. So very surprising. It did receive a little bit of a hand slap nerf. It almost, not entirely, reverted some of the changes to the Blissful Assistance Unite move, mainly with that cooldown. So it does take a slightly longer time to regenerate that Unite move, but it's still something that most players can use maybe twice before Rayquaza, especially if they get off to a decent lead, which Blissey, it's not too hard because it does have a relatively fantastic level 4 and even better level 6. I'm just trying to think of maybe some strategies. Something that I thought is really interesting, I think Fu and Lobo talked about it yesterday on the day 1 stream, is the resurgence of Goodra. We've seen it a couple times in these matches with the heavy speedster meta that we're in, with the Snorlax seeing a lot of bans or even just picks. Goodra's kind of that other, true tank, where it doesn't do a ton of damage. It can, but it's really there to soak up a massive amount of damage, and it does that better than almost every Pokemon on the roster, maybe except for Snorlax.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, the fact of not only being able to soak up damage and maybe a little survivability, but more so its passive GUI, being able to kind of slow down a Pokemon by 50% for 2 seconds is very valuable when you have Pokemon that want to just kind of get away, right? The speedsters, you can use things, not only its passive, but you can use things like Muddy Water, or if you want to use the Power Whip to kind of keep that speedster there, slow them down, which again, I don't think that's something I had thought of, at least in North America, but here in OCE, they decided, hey, we can use this. There have been certain defenders, in my opinion, that kind of had not a buff, but a resurgence due to this meta. Things like Slowbro, especially with Surf, especially at level 11, Surf Plus, you get like 3 knockups on being able to stun them for a while. Gudra, who for the most part has been seen as a bottom tier defender, can slow things down a little bit. And don't get me wrong, Ziggery played it great. It was just the way things turned out in that last game. But if we're looking at the bracket for all our friends at home in OCE land, you can see that Antic Esports moved on against Onigiri, and then Friends of Ray lost to Dead End. Bruff Esports went 2-0 against Jurassic. Nacho's Revenge went 2-0 against W9M, and you're kind of seeing how the bracket and where we've gone this far.
Yeah, and shout out to Shivam for putting this together. So thank you, Shivam, my goat. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of where we're sitting right now. Natsu's Revenge and Bruff sitting at this 1-1. So that's kind of where we're stalling out. We are waiting for the match. So just to update those at home, we're waiting for this match to be ready for us to spectate. It's just taking a couple of seconds. I think teams are still in finalizing the draft a minute or so ago. So it should be up here, honestly, any moment now, I believe. But whoever wins this next game, since it is 1-1, best of 3, will head up to that upper side bracket where Antic Exodium is waiting for them, and they'll have that winner side advantage. So if one of these teams wants to be your play-in champion, they will need to not only win one best of 3, but they'll also need to win a second best of 3, which will be really tough to do, especially with how strong Antic is. And you definitely want to be the winner of this tournament specifically because the prizes are fantastic. The winner of this tournament, like we've talked about, or I guess Boo and Lobo talked about earlier, is the winner of this tournament will be receiving some travel bonuses so that it can travel to NAIC, which is the final stretch in North America at NAIC. It'll be the last chance for any team to qualify for Worlds. And not only that, but it's a pretty significant prize pool as we get into Game 3.
Yeah, pretty significant is definitely something that's great, especially when it comes to travel money. Being able to go to NAIC, this is your final stretch. This is your final moments where you can make your way to the Pokemon World Championships in Anaheim, California. Shout out LA, baby. Totally no favoritism at all in my side. But that being said, we are seeing some new contenders. We do see Nacho's Revenge are bringing an Aegislash and a Mewtwo Y, and this is a very heavy Mewtwo. Meanwhile, Bruff Esports are going to let the bad kitty, evil kitty, known as Masquerada, is out here. I'm evil kitty. Have you seen those videos?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, they crack me up every single time.
In my brain. It's in my brain rot feed. So.
Oh, okay. So I'm not alone in the brain rot feeds. I don't feel alone anymore.
This is looking pretty good overall for Bruff as they find a KO on Snorlax. They've really taken advantage of this bottom path. They have a lot of last hitting ability, especially like surprising from this Jigglypuff. Has really good early game, and that Cute Charm is really troublesome for those divers.
Again, that's the great thing about Wigglytuff. It stuns, it slows the pace of the game down, and that looks like what Bruff Esports has been able to do, kind of slow things down to their pace, though. Naomi going to be back on the Zeraora, but they're going to be converged this time as they go for the pursuit, and it does look like Nacho's Revenge. Well, they might as well be the Revengers because they're coming back with a vengeance, 46-46, well, minute and a half into the game.
Looking pretty good so far. Yeah, you're definitely surviving. However, Zeraora not quite up to par with some of the level leaders on Natsu's Revenge. I mean, still only level 4, so you'd love to get a little bit higher here. Love to get your next sets of abilities. But this Mewtwo Y on NGHex on Mewtwo Y is really interesting pick here. I love the press pressure that it's able to put from the back line. So you do have a little bit of a bulkier front line. It's going to be really valuable, especially with the Snorlax.
Love to see it. Snorlax gets frozen in time as the fist was coming out to try to do some damage, unable to do so. And I still like the inclusion of Alolan Ninetales.
Yeah,
I might have a little bit of a favoritism towards them, but the way they've been able to provide a good amount of damage, and speaking about lots of damage, the way Joker has been playing this Absol is out of their mind. They've been applying that much more pressure, and so far this game is feeling a lot closer than game number 2 was.
Oh, Snorlax barely gets out. Mewtwo is going to Mega Evolve, but gets caught between some ice and some hard places there, so they'll be forced to back towards their pad. The other thing that I really like here about Natsu's Revenge is this Aegislash. Now that it's finally online, you're going to start to see it provide a lot of value. Ooh, big KO there. You're going to see it provide a lot of value, especially into those chunkier targets. The amount of shred of max HP that it does was buffed in a relatively recent patch, and that's why you're seeing that Pokemon be used into those more bulky comps, especially like a Wigglytuff with a Clefable. It'll be really valuable in those Pokemon.
Especially against speedsters, though, when it tries to switch into a shield form. But
too,
Meowscarada not going to allow that to happen. They're able to secure it. Now they're going on the convergence. We do see that they are going to be the Trailblaze Night Slash combo. Naomi shows up with a big old block, and the Infinite Cyburn comes out. And a great defense, but I don't think that NG is going to be able to hold things down. That is 132 to 75, and Naomi going to need to quickly get out there. And that Wigglytuff just took that to the face. Oh my God. The little sun hat might have been like ticked a little bit back. I don't know if you saw it. Poor Wiggy taking it straight to the face.
Get down, Mr. President. It was a great block. Good job. Good job, Wigglytuff.
Good job, Wiggly.
Yeah, that was fantastic. One thing that I'm looking at here is Natsu's Revenge has a good amount of control of the map in this top side. So this Regieleki that's up here, it is almost theirs for the taking. I'd love to see Bruff Esports maybe try to trade on the bot side, maybe look for a score if they didn't have, since there's no pad or jump pad to go. So it doesn't look like they're going to do that. I think they're just going to go ahead and settle for the birds down there and then just force to catch this Regieleki, which I think is totally fine. But this might give Natsu's Revenge a little bit of time and space to look for maybe a push on this T1. Maybe they're going to go just for this T2.
Oh, I don't know. This is looking scary, but the Electric Gale is going to come out. Naomi able to do it, but no!
Whoa.
Naomi, I think, accidentally might have knocked it in themselves. I could be wrong. We're definitely going to need to see the replays.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Hey.
They were able to get an ace, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know,
All
like if you
part of
ask
the
yourself,
plan.
you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, what are you talking about? I did that on purpose. We got all the KOs. That was part of the plan all along. God, casters, learn a thing about Pokemon Unite or something. It's your job.
It was a ruse. We wanted to knock it in just to lull Natsu's Revenge into the false sense of security and then just blow them up. That was the play the whole time. They did get a decent overcap on that T1 goal zone as well, so this score lead is pretty beefy right now, over 100 points. So you got to be pretty content here if you're Natsu's Revenge, and you've also gotten this Reg Ice. With the Clefable, it's not necessarily the most useful thing, considering the AoE healing that thing provides, but you're glad with the global XP.
This is one of those moments where I really wish we had some post-game interviews to be like, okay, we saw in the review that you might have knocked it in. Was that part of the plan? Well, yeah, no, maybe.
Don't ask my team.
Go ask my team. It was all part of the ruse. It was a false sense of security. We did that on purpose. We wanted to make them think they had a chance.
Nothing feels worse than knocking it in. I've done it a couple of times on a couple different Pokemon, and every time I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I wish there was a sorry button. Like, you know how there's thanks? Please give me a sorry button. Because I feel bad about everything that I do.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever done it on purpose? I did it on purpose once.
Once.
All right, as we're getting back into this game, we see the rings are unbound from Hoopa. We see the snow globe coming out of Alolan Ninetales as they're trying to hold the fort down. This is a big convergence, though. They're trying to make something happen, and the Snorlax is going to try to get the Alolan Ninetales. The Electric Gale coming out of Zeraora, trying to hold the fort down. Meowscarada able to take down the Mewtwo, and they might be able to take down a little bit more as they're getting the sword. They're jumping around with the Trailblaze, getting a good amount of shields. They're going for 3. They might be looking for more, and Snorlax is going to be like, no more. I'm good.
Good job, Evil Kitty. That's a 3-piece combo. Looking for that 4th, but like you said, unable to do so. Snorlax is just has such a high health pool. It's just so tough to take down, especially with some of the buffs that it received recently. Look at these pads. Only 6 HP on that T2 goal zone for Natsu's Revenge. I think they got some in the top T2 as well, maybe. But either way, it's looking really strong here for Bruff. You have that level 14 Meowscarada, best in the game right now. Zeraora also at 13, along with Alolan Ninetales. So it's going to be tough here. 30 seconds until the final stretch. Both sets of objectives are up. It looks like Bruff Esports is electing for this basement Reggie, and it is a Registeel. And Alex, when you have a double speedster on your side of the team, a Registeel for Rayquaza is incredibly strong. The extra attack and special attack is even more valuable with the high damage output that they already do. And when you have that level lead, it's even more terrifying. So Natu's Revenge is going to be climbing up a tall mountain here.
Especially when Meowscarada is one of those Pokemon at level 15, and you have Naomi, who we saw before on the Zeraora. They were Bad Kitty. We have double Bad Kitty, Evil Kitty on one side of the team. They are Evil Kitty. They want to win. And again, as a reminder to everybody, this is game 3. One of these teams is going to be going home. The other team is going to be facing Antic X Odium for a shot to get the prize money to be able to travel to the North America International Championships for the final stretch. And now we see Snorlax try to go in to try to make a little bit of a convergence. But wow, we do not get to see the transportation a lot when it comes to Trick Hoopa and using these moves to be able to teleport to safety.
Oh, we're going to see an engage here. We have Wigglytuff popping their Unite move. Clefable also utilizing theirs. Hoopa's bringing the team. Rings are unbound. All the Unite moves are flying off the table. And this is looking like Bruff Esports is going to have to start to retreat. But when you have a poking war, this Clefable is so valuable.
Being able to survive that much, we do see the Infinite Cyber to cause a little bit of a stat. We do see, and it's the Alolan Ninetales. Bruff Esports might have just crushed the dreams of Natu's Revenge as they're going Bad Kitty, Evil Kitty. That is an ace. Everybody's down, and it's going to go to Bruff Esports, shattering hearts, shattering dreams of Natu's Revenge as they are just plugging in these points with 30 seconds to go. Bruff Esports have just punched their ticket back into the grand finals.
The hope of the going to the Big Easy in New Orleans is still alive for Bruff Esports. Natu's Revenge, they might have to wait and qualify through Worlds. So this is going to be a tough pill to swallow for them. Bruff Esports, though, they're going to have a bit of a challenge here. Antic Exodium, sitting in the grand finals, is a tough team to take down. They were the AOS Cup Play-Ins champions. They were the February Cup champions. And if you want to dethrone them, you're going to have to win 2 best of 3s. But Bruff Esports, one step closer to doing so. They are punching their ticket into the grand finals. 782, 167 is going to be your final here in game number 3. Irwin on the Meowscarada, 9 KOs, the leader of this match.
Again, we had 2 Evil Kitties, and they performed very, very well for their team. And Bruff Esports, once again, kind of going back to what happened in Game 2, they held on to their momentum. We got all 3 Reggies, by the way. We got Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. We got to see all of them. Now, where's Regigigas? But regardless, we see Naomi, Irwin, and Koi. Koi definitely deserving an MVP because they were able to get the scare. But look at Buzz. Look at the way they were able to hold things down for their squad. And Robbie was that tank. They didn't have a traditional, I'm using air quotes here, tank or defender, but they did have a Wigglytuff to just soak up as much damage as they could for their squad, and it paid off in dividends. I did see that Ziggury was holding on to the coup de grace for a while, but who needs the coup de grace when you can just knock them all out?
True. You could just KO everybody, and then, unfortunate there, though. Natu's Revenge, not quite getting it done in Game 3. Bruff Esports coming back in this. You know, they lose the first game, and then they win the next 2. So, again, kind of similar to what they did on that T2 pad. You know, lulling them into a false sense of security, into some false comfort, and then just striking them when it hurts, and he executed this perfectly. This is a great secure here for this Meowscarada. Heavily contested from Natu's Revenge.
2 Unite moves, one from Meowscarada and one from the Absol, and Meowscarada came away a big winner with that. Great job to Irwin to be able to get that secure. And again, we saw, as try as they might, Bruff Esports really wanted to keep things in their favor in terms of momentum. Right here, you even see that Ziggury was not a part of this. They were trying to get their stacks. And this is where I want to see what actually happened. We see the Regieleki is very close. Naomi gets pushed back, and that's it because it volt switched. So,
yeah. Oh, that feels bad. But I guess it feels less bad because they won.
Yes. Well, even then, you're going to see here, even though they did the little whoopsie daisy, they do go in and get a couple KOs. So, you know what? It's fine. And they won, like you said. So, we'll just, frame that up and be like, no, Naomi, I know this was a power move, but that was a little risky.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have a talk with them after this. Maybe we'll figure out what happened. But yeah, great plays all around. Now, this was a good push here. I really thought that this might be their opportunity to strike. Obviously, didn't quite work out in their favor. They did pick up the Wigglytuff, but they couldn't quite get much more after that. I mean, they get the tanks, but just really good defensive stand here. Naomi, once again, the Zera Aura pick. It's the second time we saw them play it. And man, I think Zera Aura in the hands of the right player is still such a strong Pokemon. You're starting to see it in maybe like these top 8 scenarios across the globe. You saw it at EUIC. I believe it was Komai Esports using it against Luminosity, and they won. And it was probably the best Pokemon on the field that game. So in the right hands, Zera Aura, incredibly powerful.
Definitely one of those Pokemon I would call the sleeper picks that not a lot of people pay enough attention about because you look at patch notes and you just don't think. But let's see what happened here. You see the Gale coming out and you see Koi is just not allowed in. They wait and they go for the Blizzard.
Oh, is it the Blizzard?
The Blizzard. Wow, they did the Blizzard Avalanche combo and they were able to get the secure. You're as cold as ice. Look at that. Look at that replay. Thank you, Shivam. Look at you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Look at this.
Replay, Shivam.
I know. Look, you see they're stunned from the block, right?
Yeah.
So they're like stunned, can't move. They wake up from the stun and they just use this perfectly. They go in.
Great eject. Yeah.
Great eject to get there. Gets bumped and then says, Fools raw da as the ticking of the look at that HP. It has none. So literally the first gust of wind.
The first gust of it, yeah.
Yeah, is what it was able to secure it. A Alolan Ninetales. Secure, baby. Oh, and then it fired off the snow globe. Okay,
yeah,
that works too.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
Just
and then the other thing too is they had to pivot a little bit more to the right because if they were where they started it, it was going to be into the wall, and Blizzard is not an ability that can pass through walls. So they had to pivot a little bit over to the side just to make sure it was on top of the Rayquaza. Perfectly executed, perfectly timed. Man, really exciting for there. But we are going to be going into a quick break here very shortly. So it is going to be the grand finals up next. And we are going to see Bruff Esports take on Antic Exodium, and it's going to be Fu and Lobo taking you home for that one. So the OC Goats are going to take this home. But thank you, folks, for tuning in. This is the OCE finals for the final stretch play-ins, and we have more Pokemon Unite. We are going to take a quick break, so maybe grab a drink, maybe grab a snack. It could be a full 6 games, so you definitely want to be ready for this next. We'll see you on the other side, folks.
Welcome back, folks, to the final stretch play-ins for the Oceania region. This is day 2. I'm here with Lobo as we bring you guys the action for the grand finals. But before that, we have a surprise for you guys. Now, Carl and Alex did a couple of Pokemon spotlights before and noting out some players and introducing to you guys behind the screen some of the Pokemons to watch in today's tournament. And we've got some ourselves. And I think, Lobo, you're up first as you guys bring us in for one of the Pokemons you chose to spotlight in today's tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of I've seen become a pivotal member in this shift in the meta as he's coming through. It's also a Pokemon that's getting banned outright completely. It is on the big thick boy Snorlax. I am a big fan of Snorlax. Especially you, Fu. We see that lovely plushie of Snorlax by yourself there. But Snorlax is a very block, heavy slam, yawn, and a flail. All movesets that we've seen be used. Flail quite strong right now with Snorlax's big HP stat. Stun block, giving them a shield for that insane ability. But, like we're saying, you shall not pass. And it is a big, thick boy. Watch out, especially our Invader, our Robbie, and are in Snorlax or any other defender that we have seen throughout the plays on Snorlax is absolutely incredible. He's going to cover on Spotlight as well as a few players that are going to play it, but for a Pokemon that you'd like to spotlight yourself.
Yeah, big shout out to Steel Agent Carl for making these awesome graphics. I'm going to be taking over Meowscarada, which is a Pokemon I really enjoy playing myself, but it has really come in to the meta with the buffs in the recent patch. And one of the I guess most fun moves to play is going to be that Flower Trick and Double Team. I think it feels so good when you send a clone in and then, all your enemies waste all their abilities and their moves on it, and then you can really pop back in and put that Flower Trick, maybe get that enhanced boosted on. It's great at securing, it's great at doing that graveyard damage as well. These are some of the items that teammates like to use, and we saw Anon on this Pokemon a lot, and I think Erwin also played it a little bit today. Some of the highlights that Carl has written down is blows everything up, which I 100% agree. Husky, the other caster from NA, is very good at it apparently before the buff. And, apparently it's an evil kitty as well. So some of the trainers that I think people are going to be watching, Luck played it a little bit back in the days in the day 1, I think. And Anon picking it up today. So whether we'll see more of these Pokemons come into the grand finals, we'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, I think Meowscarada is such a good pick. It's such a strong Pokemon, able to just really distract any kind of player and really make sure that the opposing team is not focusing on them at all and not playing it to great effect, especially Floral Flourish. We saw it used in combination with Crossel's Rock Tomb to really trap people in and to really ensure that a lot of damage is being done on top of all the damage that it can do. So a lot of good Pokemon getting spotlights now, especially with this current meta that we've got going on.
Yeah, I think, and before we get into the game as well, what's exciting about this meta is the fact that we have kind of a quick changer, right, since the last cup. And speaking of cups, though, the match we're going to spectate, ladies and gentlemen, is between two incredible teams. And for those folks who are watching at home and want a bit of context, AXO, on one hand, they have won the AOS Cup play-in, so they were in EUIC, and they also were able to take home the February Cup. But on the other side, Prof Esports, they are the winners of the January Cup. So we've got two really experienced teams clashing at each other for a ticket to New Orleans for the final stretch. And what better way to end of this tournament than two of these very strong players, very strong teams. We're going to start this game off, Lobo. It's going to be Anon hitting the second area for AXO.
Yeah, on that Cerulid as well on the opposite side, absolutely going to carry. Gengar is heading on into top side. Now, usually we've seen that in the bottom path, the basement path. However, the combination play between Liz and Joe has been great. He is going to do a few shit.
Robbie is going to be here trying to waste time, and it's going to be easy here to help out with the viewers. Robbie will be punished for his actions, but perhaps he's wasted a little bit of time. And also the fact that we have a really aggressive position coming out from Invader in the bottom side that will also get knocked out in response.
Absol's going to head into his basement path. His online so ability, but DC is getting with that charge beam. We have seconds left to go, but 3 people inside the bottom lane. Absol's almost getting caught. That's not. These are contested down here for.
I think it's really interesting that Owen has decided to ambush the bottom part, because there is a gas here at the top, so I would think that would be an easier person to take down, regardless. Though big company DC is going to do that through, and that allows them to get some of those crucial attack weight stacks to go in. I mean, for speedsters, Lobo, it's so important to get your stacks early.
No, put up a lot of that have your way as esports is going to walk away. Robbie is your that blue buff away, but might not be able to keep it for very as anti-Exodium going to comes into their zones.
They are indeed trying to do that, and we have now a Clefable from Buzz fully online with their ability to heal up their team, and they're going to be really sticking together, right, whenever they need that healing. And I think with Alola Ninetales, this becomes a really nice space for them to enact some sort of crowd control on the enemy team. Going to have the 8-minute birds, rather, or spawn up and immediately soaked up by these two teams.
I don't any love on this map. They decide to sites. They go, but Antic Exodium getting some stacks in as well. Haunter wants to get those evolutions, but Zora, might have a fight. Nice drag there, but Zora pushing a place they don't want to go.
Oh, they definitely don't want to go there. 2 members down for AXO and 4 members from Bruff Esports looking to try to push this pad, maybe get a siege going on, but with the mean look coming out from your Invader, they're not going to be able to do that. So I guess it's still going to be waiting, right, for these first objectives to spawn before a proper engage. But as I say, there's nice little pull by Naomi onto Invader. I think there goes a huge little damage, but it actually pulled in Joe for the KO. So Valley for AXO, as now they have a chance to score some goals and maybe, break this top pad.
Alon, Absol's gonna pop that Unite move. Yeah, you're right, Food. That top pad is gone. DC goes down in quick succession. Liz caught between a Snorlax and a very, very dangerous Absol, picking up a nice KO streak of 3. Again, it's what you don't want to pick up someone that you don't want to follow with you. But I think Zora can't really choose that. But it's gonna go quite well as they go for this top Regieleki.
It is going to be Bruff Esports pocketing that Regieleki for their team, and in the meantime, also breaking that bottom tier 1. So from the get-go, very aggressive stance, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be using this opportunity to actually push the pad, seeing as, the Gengar and also the Miraidon have already shredded it fast, but it looks like they might have to just look for an engage from EXO, maybe get some value from a nice little stun from Robbie, but it's going to be Anon trying to get out of there now. They're going to be playing that Ceruledge for this game.
Yeah, look, Anon's doing a nice job to avoid all of the Alola Ninetales and the Snorlax's CC, but the heavy slam goes in and Anon gets caught very quickly. Bruff Esports comfortably in the lead with that 159 point score. DC just trying to put a little bit of damage on. We know how powerful Exo can be, but Gengar's going to pop that Unite move, accompanied with the Wish. Naomi's in a bit of problem.
Oh, Naomi sent back to say hi to Nurse Joy. I mean, from the levels, it does seem like Bruff Esports are in the lead. And having incredibly strong carry mons with a level advantage means that some of these fights, it's really up to AXA to kind of play together and stop going into those, 1v2, 1v3 skirmishes, right? And any yellow dots on the screen, if you can capture and kind of prepare yourself for this basement Reggie spawning up, they might have a better chance at winning that fight.
Halfway through the 10-minute match, teams are on the opposite side of the map. Naomi's just trying to get a little bit of score. I think this is a nice little chance for teams to just get that experience, play the Pac-Man. 27 seconds until Regieleki spawns, 12 seconds until this bottom Reggie spawns. Teams have to make a decision, but I think AXO have made the decision to siege this top side pad.
Yeah, the Plasma Gale landing onto DC, but it's not going to be enough to knock them down as the Bright Future Meteor Storm comes through. But it's actually going to be a bright future for Bruff Esports, question mark? No, we have 2 members knocked out on both these teams. So a very, handshake kind of fight there as the Snorlax will take a power nap. And with Joe kind of trapped into the block. Is anyone on the side of Rafiso can actually, I guess, collapse onto that, but Joe gets out safely, it seems, and Liz by them side will mean that Owen needs to find another opportunity to maybe take them out.
Robbie with this wish combination, being able to not only heal up Joe on this Gengar, but also trap anyone in mean look. Anon has started this Reggie steal, but Bruff Esports, quick as anything, decide to come on in. Let's see who can secure this engage, Fu.
Oh, the Dream Eater not able to knock onto anybody, but DC's still there to at least get the Reggie steal for their team, and they're going to have 3 knockouts now on the side of Bruff Esports. We're not even participating in that fight, seeing the chance to get a decent overdunk in the top path. Now they will have that score lead. I mean, it's a pretty tight game, isn't it? With that score at the bottom from AXO as well. 217 to 229.
We talk about handshakes all the time. You take top path, we'll take basement path. You know, nice 39 overcap. Heavy Slam's going to catch out Non, who's forced to use the Revenant Ren Unite move and going to go after Lola Ninetales, forcing Erwin to also pop their Unite, but Anon goes down for his troubles. A nice trading KOs inside that bottom path. I think both of these teams are kind of trying to say, look, if you're going to engage in me, we're going to engage in you. Unite for Unite, KO for KO. But, you know, heading onto this 3-minute now, we've got 10 points in this game. There's not a yellow dot amongst it to be seen. And I think this is going to be one heck of a Ray fight if they go for the flip or if they go for the fight.
It's very important for Bruff Esports, I think, in terms of the momentum to take out this game number 1, because they've just, you know, spent so much hard work coming through the losers bracket, earned their rightful ticket in the grand finals, and, you know, obviously AXO has that bracket reset to kind of play with, so a little bit more, I guess, comfortability on the side of AXO. 30 seconds until the final stretch. It is going to be Bruff Esports on the back foot, kind of push away from this pit so far, but they got 20 seconds, Lobo, to get back in.
Yeah, look, Bruff Esports finding their way into that right-hand side corridor. Let's check out these levels before we head into this Ray fight. Level 13, DC on the Marauder. Level 13, Joe on the Gengar. Level 13, Anon. I think I can say level 13 so many times, but level 14, Gengar has come on turn. But Erwin is level 15 with Naomi level 13 as well. And Koyabi Fan as well is on level 13. That Green Dragon has spawned. Let's see if we get a fight straight away. Defenders juking it out, trying to see what's going on. And DC's popping that Thunder. We could get a little bit of a drawn out fight, or we're just going to go for damage because DC has the ability to have that ranged poke in here, and it's going to be on who blinks first for the attack, the moves they're pulling off. But I think that Bruff Esports is slowly getting pushed out of their comfortable positioning.
Yeah, they're kind of getting choked out. Robbie has to use their power nap to regain all that HP, and that is a really good sign for AXO. The Dream Eater will land onto Robbie, but it's not a position Joe actually wants to go in. And with all that dilly-dallying, we do have Owen now going in for a back cap, and DC now has enraged that Rayquaza. It could just go to a fight because we don't have Hooper from any of these teams. It's going to be so low. The Konokai Crash come through, but it's going to be Joe able to secure the Rayquaza for AXO. And it does look like with 3 members down on the side of Bruff Esports, this is going to be some easy scores for them and possibly able to lock in our first game for our grand finals.
No, that is going to be locked in the first game. Interesting choice made by Owen to go and score. I know that puts the pressure on Anti-Exodian to come back, but again, with that team, with that composition, with the levels that they had, DC enraging that Rayquaza, they just went all hands on deck, time to secure, and it was Joe that managed to secure it. So game number 1, going to Anti-Exodian, even though they had to sit behind and wait for this game to come through, they had to wait a game 3 situation in the losers final. They don't seem to have lost any rust right now. 20 seconds to go, not going down, but there's 200 points for 20 seconds to go. Could we see a nice little comeback from Bruff Esports as they push towards this tier 2 on the basement side?
Yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult now. More than 300 points, and also Joe having their Phantom Ambush available will be able to one-shot the attacker. That's going to be Koyabi Fan 1 on the side of Bruff Esports, and with the timer ticking down now, I mean, AXO is 1 game away from getting the travel war to go to NAIC, and for Bruff Esports, they need to win every single game now onwards in this set in order to reset the bracket and then have one last chance. So back to the drawing board they will go, but I think for now, the game was pretty close up until that point, right? And I think whether Erwin going into back cap was the right decision, it definitely kind of motivated, at least on the side of DC, to poke the Rayquaza a little bit and kind of like bait the rest of Rough Esports in for the fight.
I agree with you. It's interesting. As soon as you see someone going for a back cap that possibly doesn't have the Hooper to be able to bring them back in, Antic Exodium, I think the confidence going into a 5v4, especially when you've got powerful Pokemon like Gengar, like Cerule Edge and DC with the Miraidon. But let's not forget, Invader doing a fantastic job, mean looking and wishing, keeping their attackers very, very sustained. Because let's not forget, Absol, no one on the Absol, Naomi on the Zora, and Koyabe Fan 1 on the Ninetales are able to deal as much damage back to them as they're able to do, as well as provide a lot of CC inside those fights. And not to mention Robbie with that heavy slam. You know, it is an interesting thing coming up to it, but Antic Exodium had the confidence to really take that Rayquaza, seeing that they were one man up in that Rayquaza fight.
I think on paper as well, having a Miraidon that's going to be using the range attack move, which is going to be that charge beam, it's going to be a tough ask, I think, for the A9 to kind of go into, right? It's really the onus is on Naomi and Irwin to kind of take this Pokemon down. If not, they're going to get absolutely poked out. And that's what really happened at the start of that Ray fight. I think Robbie got extremely low and had to use the Unite move, which normally can be used to kind of save one of your teammates, but using it by yourself without any value from that just meant that the sustain was much less. And I'm sure someone on the side of AXO is running that Curse Incense and to reduce the healing coming out from that Clefable, right? So Buzz obviously had a bit of trouble to heal there as well. We're gonna bring you guys some replay of that game number 1, and you can see here in this fight, it looked good for a second, then it looked bad, and then we saw, you know, both teammates on both teams get KO'd there, and it was kind of like, ooh, is this a moment where we continue to fight? We used the Miraidon ult already, and I think both teams played it decently smart there. We had Irwin hitting that level 14 first in this game.
I like to see that, especially as soon as Irwin jumped, they made a beeline straight for DC to take away that range suppression and damage that they had. Again, really going, and like you pointed out, Irwin or Naomi are really going to have to be the ones that check DC on that Miraidon. Again, Charge Beam here is just going to be sitting, but nobody putting pressure on to DC. Everyone focused on the secure going through, and I think it was DC that got the secure on this Registeel. It was, and again, just completely unevaded until Ninetales were trying to make its way around. So I think all props to Invader for really providing the space for DC to work with. But here again, we had a nice little handshake, 320 coming on the clock, Anon taking a KO, and then Irwin taking a KO back. But here, the Ray fight is where it counted.
Yeah, you can see Irwin making their way back into the pit. Have the Dream Eater, the Cotton Crowd Crash as well, the Reverend Rent. I mean, it's just everyone on the side of AXO is putting their moves to try to get this burst off, and they're going to be successful at the end of the day. And sometimes it just comes to this, right? Normally, we see Ray as such a win condition for these teams, and if you do go for the back cap, you know your team's going to be disadvantaged in terms of numbers, and sometimes, you know, with a team comp that these two teams have, there's not really a lot of, like, your conventional secure, right? Such as your Blaziken, your Zacian, Unite move. And it's something, it just goes to whoever gets the Ray will probably win this game.
It's going to have to be, you know, throw everything you can on to the Rayquaza. Maybe once you realize that the team fight is not an option, the team's not targeting you, they're targeting the Rayquaza, shift that focus to the Rayquaza, you know? Again, like you said, no real secure potential apart, I want to say, from DC, because that Charge Beam, uninterrupted, are not stoppable, and it's just going to put the most consistent damage onto that Rayquaza as you have. You could try and stun, you could try and do whatever you can, but we call it a flip for a reason, right, Fu? So now going into game number 2, with that thought in mind, is Rough Esports' sole line of thinking going to be purely on Rayquaza secure, or are they going to go for the more teamfight composition? Because they were not far behind when it came to how they were engaging and duking it out with Antic Esports.
I think it just, yet again, it depends on their strategy, right? And if we're going to have a look at the bracket on the journey of these teams once again. AXO dropping 2 games in their run through the winners bracket into the grand finals, but it's going to be Rough Esports that had a lot of work to do, right? They went down to Natsu's Revenge 2-1 yesterday in your winners semifinals, and they had to really fight their way through. They beat Onigiri, they beat W9M, both 2-0s, and then they got their revenge on Natsu's Revenge 2-1. But yet again, AXO is just such a tall mountain to kind of climb over, right? Having the comfort of the reset, I mean, it's kind of like, do you have enough momentum coming through the losers bracket to kind of take over a team that has been kind of the favorites, right, to win today's tournament? And but from my experience casting a lot of these important tournaments in the grand finals, literally anything can happen. Sometimes it's just about that one decision that can change the kind of the path of what these teammates will go through, right? Whether it's a Ray secure, whether it's a Registeel a secure, or whether it's just a really nice engage by your tank or even, you know, your supporter that can, you know, bring it to a reset. So I obviously want to watch as many games as possible today, but I think on the side of Antic Esports, Antic Exodium, they want to finish this ASAP, right?
Yeah, I know. A quick game for them. A quick game's a good game. For us, as many games is what makes our day and night seem more fulfilling. But I just want to talk about just Antic Exodium right now. They seem very comfortable in this top spot. They've got the experience, the competitiveness that they are now filling out, especially after their trip to EUIC. It seems like we're seeing a lot of different compositions coming out for them. But then when push comes to shove, they come out with a composition that no team or even UF has seen before, especially when we talk about the Venusaur Deathball composition. Something that cannot be stopped. We've seen them come up with these comps that rely on the complete teamwork of these of the 5 core members of Antic Exodium, and it just seems so powerful. So no matter how much they're pushed, we've seen them being pushed by Nachi's Revenge multiple times across multiple tournaments, but then in that final stretch, that game 3 situation, comes a comp that nobody's seen, that nobody can really experience. And I don't know, like that experience on staying at this level and competing at this international level, it seems like they're addicted to it and they really want to get to that NAIC, because that is on a completely different international scale. But I have faith Bruff Esports are not a team that are going to let this go. They have the strong players. They have players that have had international experience as well. So it's all about, I think, your mental. You have to go. They fought through the losers bracket. That's enough of a mental push. But now you have to have the confidence to stand up to Antic Exodium, because, yeah, they are the big boys. But when the big boys fall, you know, that gives place for other teams to rise. And I think that's exactly what we want to see in our region. Competitiveness, growth, and just good Pokemon Unite, right?
I think the set from Nachi's Revenge really just showed that they are definitely beatable when they get pushed to the limits. But the difference being is obviously AXO having so much experience, both internationally and also just domestically, these players having played comp for a couple of seasons already. So I think something that you gain from playing this many, I guess, tournament games is that, yes, you might be down and, you know, your backs might be against the wall, but it's about how you continue to kind of like focus on what to do in those situations, right? You know, it's a best of 3 set, and this applies to both AXO and Bruff Esports in any of the clashes that they can go through, right? Even if you're a game down, it does not mean you're out. And I think this is so important for Bruff Esports right now to know that they still have another 10-minute game to kind of change it up. They can bring it to 1-all. They can send it to a bracket reset. It's all about how they solve the problems right now. And right now, it's what AXO is throwing at them, which I think is a better late game comp. We're going to get into this game number 2, Lobo, and let's take a moment to absorb this draft.
Yeah, look, we've got Robbie on the Snorlax. Erwin's going to continue on with the Absol, Buzz with the Clefable, which I do like as well. But Naomi has been shifted off of that Zeraora by Anon, but they are going to go on to the Machamp. And Koyabe fan going to stick with the Ninetales. It seems all the same for the side of Antic Exodium, who are going to be on your purple side. Bruff Esports on your orange side. Game at number 2. Do or die for Bruff Esports. Game over. And game continued tournament set for Antic Exodium.
Yeah, we do have a double speedster comp coming out. And the Miraidon also getting revisited from AXO. Meanwhile, Machamp will be coming on for Bruff Esports. And I'm keen to see whether they're going to be going that submission in order to kind of access this Miraidon that has been such a pain from that last game. You see Robbie and Koyabe Fan 1 playing a very typical bot path duo set. And top side, you know, obviously having that Glossifer. Definitely a really good A-press option for their team.
Yeah, and Non is playing some aggressiveness here, really taking them down low. Absol is here inside that bot path. I really want to see how they're going to be able to deal with DC on that Miraidon this time around. They really have to stop him just from putting on damage. I think that's going to be Irwin's task. Or if we see submission Machamp, that's not something DC wants to see running at it, man. It's going to be an interesting one as we've got Altarius coming up soon.
Yeah, they definitely are in a very aggressive position is AXO, and it looks like they might be taking these birds all to themselves.
Yeah, no, I think Bruff Esports just wanted to back that on up. They saw 4 members, maybe not wanting to give the experience away, but they're going to have to try and stop these scores coming in. Counter scoring in the basement lane, scores going in 42-44. Nice even game coming up front, but Robbie has been found out by Absol and Snorlax, but they're not too far behind is Antic Exodium, and now team's just going to separate for a little bit.
We're going to all wait 20 seconds for the next bit of neutral farm to contest for. This provides Anon a bit of opportunity to get a stack in. You can see it's going to be submission Machamp there, so Naomi's going to be able to run down either the Speedsters or this Miraidon, isolate them for their team, and hopefully, you know, your Absol or your Alolan Ninetales are going to be able to do that damage and get that KO.
Heading on into this middle area, Altarius here just going to get swept up by Bruff Esports. Just wanted to point out, Robbie is on the mean look, but there, we pointed out, DC is now getting jumped on by 2 members, including Robbie and Irwin. Gengar is there, unable to help, but wanted to point out that Invader has decided to go for that mean look set, so DC is going to be a little bit protected, but we've got a siege onto this bottom path. Avalanche in to the Blizzard is going to make sure that basement pad is gone. Gengar has gone in, takes down Naomi, but Irwin is not one to be outdone. Joe gets taken down as well. Double KO for Koi Fan 1 as Anon is here. Robbie heavy slamming out of the way. Nice engages by Bruff Esports.
Gravity is going to be so strong here, I think, just to stop the Volt Switch, stop some of the Dream Eater dashes coming out from Joe as well. But at the same time, I think the Umbreon pick is very important in order to counter both the submission Machamp and also, the Absol, because if, let's say, your Machamp unites, but it's stuck in Mean-Look, it's not going to be able to do that damage if it does not connect, right? Registeel as our first basement Reggie for this game, and AXO is not even going to try for that. Instead, they're going to look to push this top pad.
Yeah, Naomi didn't have a chance. They're getting caught inside that mean look and then felled on by Anon. And I think they're looking just at that mini map as they take this top Regieleki. They've got 3 members defending, possibly getting a combined score of 52 inside this bot lane. No jump pads ready, so that is a nice way to keep that score. But as we've got a siege onto this top path, Heavy Slam comes in, Absol Unite does fell down. Regieleki is walking, Naomi's working on the Regieleki. They want to make sure that it doesn't fall. The DC Charge Beam takes down Irwin, and the Snow Globe also comes out from Alolan Ninetales, but the pressure from AXO is just too much for, as Gengar is forced to unite as well, takes down Naomi. The pressure on this top pad is too high. I think AXO just going to have to back out because Bruff Esports doing a fantastic job defending.
Yeah, I think it's back to the fuel station for EXO. It kind of ran out of gas there, and I think it was such a smart idea for your A9 and your Clefable to go in for the score because they know they had the Midnight Slash up top to kind of stall out the fight, and they, as soon as they were able to KO Liz, much of the sustain were already taken out, and that's one of the caveats I think to a double speedless comp. If you don't have, if you aren't able to KO the enemy, Lobo, you're not going to be able to sustain that fight. So, as I talk about sustain, though, it looks like Robbie will get knocked down here.
Speaking of KOs as well, you are completely correct. KOing the enemy is the best form of crowd control. Said it before, I'll say it again. But Irwin going in on Umbreon. Umbreon gets taken down. That is the defender. That is going to be a big loss. Alolan Ninetales, Blizzard Avalanche is going to stall Joe into those bushes inside the top side. But DC is here. They've got to deal with him. That damage is just too much coming out of Miraidon. But it looks like Robbie is searching for Anon. Found him in that bush. Now Bruff Esports taking an advantage when it comes to the defense. They're defending very well right now, Fu.
Yeah, normally, teams can play front to back against comps that are quite divey, right, into you. But here, it's very important for them to actually knock out this Miraidon, because right now, DC's having the time of their life. There's like literally no pressure on this Miraidon, apart from your occasional Absol to come through. And we have a fight coming through immediately for this Regice Lobo.
Power Nap into the Cotton Cloud Crash along with the Moonlight Prance. There's the night, the Absol Unite as well. Bright Future Meteor Storm. The future is bright for Antic Exodium. Oh my god, Machamp ejected through to try and get onto DC, but to no avail. And Robbie is caught inside. Look, has to block, provides the extra shields, but goes down as well. Stalls enough time. Clefable is there. Koyabe round 1, putting the ice down on the base as well. This is where I said the defense is coming in, but Clefable jumps down. Naomi submissions down. They've got DC. DC's been taken out by a beautiful combination between Koyabe fan 1 and Naomi. And now Antic Exodium have to fall back. Again, these sieges on the pads are just not working at the moment. But Naomi tried to grab Liz, but paid for it.
I think just so important is that little moment we had there where we had a submission that isolated DC into the Avalanche Blizzard combo of your Alola Ninetales. That's exactly what Bruff Esports needs to do a little bit more. But the bad news for them is that DC, obviously being a very experienced Miraidon player, will not find themselves in those very forward positions all the time. So whether you need that eject from that Machamp to go grab it, whether it's Erwin getting a good flank, if they can't take care of this problem for the Ray fight, they are going to get run down by both Joe, the Miraidon ult, and also Anon on the Zero Aura. So we're going to have another siege here on this pad. Maybe the last time chance to use the Unite slow-mo, as we have a fly coming out from the Clefable to try to defend this.
Submission does go on to DC. We know he doesn't want to get caught. Gets caught, pushed out by the Blizzard and Avalanche. They're trying to score. Third time is the charm for the siege onto the bottom pad. Gets a beautiful, I do believe that was a 48 overcap. But also, they could switch their attention to this top path where the Regieleki has walked in, or they could stave off, because at 250, being aggressive here right now could be a problem for AXO, but it does not matter. Anon is just going to rob Bruff Esports of any kind of buffs, any kind of form. But, excuse me, Robbie decided to jump over, but then heavy slam right back up. Said, no, thank you, but this is great. Bruff Esports counter-scoring, bringing this a 25-point game.
And a Regirock to seal off their advantage, going to perhaps the final stretch of this final stretch play-ins, 215 to 201. I mean, AXO, they can smell the victory. It's in their sights in the next 2 minutes, but Bruff Esports, they've got the levels themselves. They've got double 13s and a 12. Can we see a third game here? I mean, from the side of BE, they definitely want to, don't they?
Yeah, they want to take this through, but now it is a close battle. Both teams know it. One tier 1 up for the side of Antic Exodium. We got to wait, see if these teams are just going to see each other out, but DC going to do a great job just poking everybody out with that charge beam.
And we do have Joe kind of manning that top pad. They don't know that there are actually so many members of Bruff Esports up in that top path. Meanwhile, the rest of AXO have kind of taken that position in this bottom, and they're going to really funneling Bruff Esports up top.
Hindsight is 2020. If they could just see Joe, if he comes out of that bush, they could just 5-man just decide to pop him off. But I think then they have a problem here as well if Antic Exodium decide that they want to just rip this Rayquaza. But look through, they have just pushed Bruff Esports out. They're going to have to try and force their way back into this Rayquaza pit.
Yeah, Robbie's now trying to get vision from the bottom side for their team. A minute has gone by, folks. Nothing has really happened. But if you're going to be a Bruff Esports, you know it's going to be a close battle. So perhaps the onus is on both of these teams to make an engage. And as I say, with an engage, Buzz actually goes down, Lobo, and a huge Barrow Bro to go through.
Barrett does manage to pick up a KO on Anon. There goes the Bright Future Meteor Storm. Is the future bright for Antic Exodium? Koyabe Fan 1 managing to isolate Liz away from DC. Erwin has decided to go in with the Night Slash, but DC gets held. Liz gets healed up by the Wish. It is a 4v3 situation. Koyabe Fan 1 getting pinted by DC, and Joe on the Gengar. And Ninetales gets felled as well. Only 2 members left alive with 30 seconds on the clock. Antic Esports are controlling this Ray pit with seniority and with aggression, and DC is going to fire off that charge beam, and the 2 remaining support and tank players are being pushed out of that Rayquaza pit.
15 seconds to go. I mean, Naomi is trying to do the Rayquaza right now, and I think such a smart thing from EXO to get those hundo in before the actual engagement to make sure that they have secured the lead. And I think with 2 seconds remaining, it is going to be AXO heading into New Orleans for your NAIC. They're going to be representing OCE. A massive shout out, a clean sweep of the grand finals, and congratulations to these 5 players.
Ooh, what a fantastic game. A complete control of that Rayquaza pit, did not allow Bruff Esports a chance to go in, and then they just picked them off one by one by one. A great engage by Nomi with the barrage blow, managing to take out Anon, but then getting taken out by themselves. And Erwin tried to make a play to check out Liz, but Invader and DC were there, which means Erwin couldn't have stayed in for very, very long. So what a game. Rayquaza not needed. And again, AXO came out with something that we had not seen before. No focus on the Rayquaza, no focus on actually pushing the fight. It was control of that Rayquaza pit as we take a look at some of these highlights.
Some of these highlights just really painted by, the attackers, I think, on both these teams. Obviously, DC able to apply so much damage and poke from their enhanced charge beam. But at the same time, I think the Alona Ninetales did a fantastic job seeing the isolation brought out by the team, either the heavy slam or the submission, and really knocking away and making Joe's life a little bit difficult. But I think once we pan to the final stretch later on, you're going to be able to see kind of a disconnect between Bruff Esports and their team members, with obviously Snorlax being on one side and Fable going down first. And I think once that happens and you don't have the healing to help everyone out, it becomes an easier time for AXO to dismantle.
I was very impressed by both teams. The plays, the counter plays. There's a real tug of war, especially towards the end with the scores coming in. Like, again, DC completely on their own. Perhaps the bright future Meteor Storm. It is an incredibly bright future for Antic X Odium. Erwin here popping the Unite as well, trying to get any kind of damage onto any of these. But look at where Invader is positioned, right next to Anon, providing that defense. There's always a line between Invader and DC, and Liz is right there in the middle doing exactly what supporters do best. Big shout outs to those two players, really allowing DC, Anon, and Joe to just run rampant in these fights and in these objective takes.
And I do have to say, though, a big shout out to Bruff Esports. I guess not too many people may know, but they had a last-minute roster change going into this tournament, and making the grand finals is no small feat, right? Even though we didn't have, as many teams sign up as the other regions, but I still think having the ability to kind of synergize with 4 other members coming back into competitive, it's just a really good sign, and I think just shows the passion of these players, and I'm very happy that they put on such a great show for us.
We talk about all the time, OCE may be small, but we are mighty. We are able to lead all of the broadcasts here, especially because OCE does tend to live a little bit in the future, which we love. And they are able to put on some incredible games. We saw incredible steals played from Crossel. We saw Snorlax heavy slam steals all throughout the games. We saw Natu's Revenge play an incredible game 1 against Antics X Odium as well, taking them to donuts, which we need to point out because that is a very hard thing to do, especially against a very game Antic X Odium. But looking inside this Ray fight, the control right now, even with Anon, kind of at the moment talking to Nurse Joy, but complete control. And congratulations once again to Antic X Odium. Big shout outs to Bruff Esports for putting up one heck of a tournament run.
Yeah, we're going to go back to the 4 boxes. We bring in the other casters, Carl and Alex, to talk about this grand finals. But what an incredible show it has been today. I mean, we saw some wonderful moments, and a big shout out to I guess, our production team, I think, to really get it done, because for a moment we obviously had a few stabilizers in our systems trying to get the broadcast sorted out, but, obviously Kyle's channel has been a great home to broadcast our grand finals today of the Final Stretch Play-Ins. So we're going to have Alex and Carl come back in. Maybe I'll start with you, Carl, first. How was watching the grand finals behind the scenes?
I mean, fantastic. I'm really excited because that means that I get to meet a lot of the folks at Antic X Odium in a few short months. So hopefully that means you two are coming to New Orleans. Maybe, yes, possibly. I hope so. I'm really excited. I've really enjoyed watching this team play all season long. Obviously, there's the 1 month where they weren't able to compete, right? But outside of that, they have been the clear front runner in OCE region, put up an amazing, incredible show at Cup and making day 2 for the first time for OCE since, was it 2022? So
I do believe so.
Yeah, pretty big stuff. I'm excited to see the waves that they'll be able to make at NAIC. I imagine they'll be able to make some, and it's just really exciting to see kind of this front runner kind of cement themselves in this region.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the nail on the head with the cementing, because they've come through winning Feb Cup, right? They went to EUIC, but coming back into the OCE scene, I think this is really a statement for them to say that, obviously, we've played on the international stage, but we're also just as strong in our region as well. I mean, Alex, did you have any thoughts on that game yourself? I mean, we had similar comps, I think, from both these teams that what they've played today, but, you know, still a great way to kind of broadcast these matches.
I think the bigger thing for me, other than that one game, is the overarching story that we kind of saw Antic play today. Like, they entered the day and, you know, no disrespect at all, but they got absolutely crushed in game 1 today. And it made you question, like, where's the Antic Odium that we know? And it almost felt like something ignited in them. Something just kind of came alive in them. And they were able to just, from there on out, you know, to the moon. It almost felt like it was just a slow start, right? Like, they needed to warm up truly, and they came out with flying colors. That's no disrespect to Bruff Esports at all. It was just the simple factor that Antic X Odium truly came alive. It truly felt like they were in their comfort picks, and it felt like they played not only to the meta, but also to their strengths.
Yeah, nothing as shocking as visiting the donut store in your first game of the broadcast, right? And I think that really gave them that little like motivation.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a run they've had from that adrenaline. So I think as we wrap up today's stream, there's a bunch of people to thank to make it all possible. You know, once again, folks, this action would not have been able to be brought to you without these wonderful casters by my side. We have Still Agent Kyle, Zero In on Alex, and also Lobo that we've you know, really helped out with the I think the entire season so far. I think we're midway through the 2024 to 2025 season, and what an incredible journey it has. And I'm so glad you guys are here with us for today's broadcast. We have Shivam at the back doing all the producing, those replays, those slow-mos. I mean, it's really not possible to do it without someone that's as experienced as he is. And speaking of, like, observing, though, Rosander waking up so early in the morning to observe these games. I mean, this is just week in and week out, it's a big shout out is needed for Rosander. And obviously all the admin work, I think Shiv probably did a bit of adminning there as well, and as well as Battle Hub, obviously helping out with all the hosting and the broadcast here. But it's gonna be all the shout outs to Kyle today for enabling, I think, his stream as the home for today's broadcast. So, you know, double claps for Kyle indeed today. So, I mean, anything to wrap up, anything that we've missed, Lobo, Alex, Kyle, maybe a highlight or so. But for now, I think what a wonderful show it has been today.
I kind of have a couple of words. I kind of want to just put into perspective, like, not only how thankful I am to be a part of this for OCE region, you know, not only the fact that Kyle and I have been, you know, graciously invited to be part of this region. It's a beautiful region with amazing players. And even though, yeah, it's small, but you guys are mighty. And I'm personally feel very honored to be a part of this group, not only in the OCE region, but also feel honored to be here representing OCE and casting with you three gents. It has been nothing but a blast. Like you said, we're about probably halfway through the season, and I am just want to show my gratefulness not only to you casters, but also to Rosander, to Shivam, to everybody that's been a part of this behind the scenes, on cast. It's just been a pleasure so far, and I can't wait to see what the rest of OCE has to show.
Yeah, really well said. And I think speaking of competitions, the March Cup is in 2 weeks. Can you believe it? The action will not stop in the official season of Unite. And, you know, apart from all the smattering of some great grassroots tournaments coming your way, guys, stay tuned. We're going to be back with the March Cup qualifiers in about 2 weeks on the weekends as usual. So until then, this is goodbye from Fu, Lobo, Kyle, and Alex. We'll see you guys next time.